Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Rod, Kimberly Schmidt, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Babanta, Will Brax, Mel B Style, Troy Shuka, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Who knows some Japanese stuff? Sushi? I don't know.
Sushi and shit, yeah. I went and got the sushi.
There you go. Went and got some sushi.
I don't know how you would have came up with that.
Yeah, people aren't creative as you think. They're more of a misinterpretations more than anything. That's why I like to think about original thought. What is original thought? Has a human had an original thought?
Right. Well, I used to think that when I was like a teenager too, and try to run through it. And then I've come to the idea that we do have original thought, but there's only so many notes. Like, who's gonna make up new musical notes? Like, it's like I watch Sound of Music. I'm pretty sure there's only do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
12 musical notes. Also 12 zodiac.
The way I see it is that we are original footprints, but original thoughts, no. Like, because where do thoughts originate? Like, if I can have the same thought someone can have at the same time, I can most likely have a thought that someone had before. But the thoughts originate from.
Very bad mic.
Hey Elijah, real quick, if I could just get your who you listen to right now in hip hop right now, just top 5 who you listen to right now.
Flat Earth Debate, huh?
I don't really listen to hip hop. I'm
Is
more,
that original
more into
music?
More into like inspirational music nowadays.
Oh,
that like
Mother Goose type music.
Japanese
things that lift my spirit, you know, keep me positive.
Maybe like clean your room. Clean your room.
Man, you're talking to guys that didn't know the Beatles were spelled B-E-A.
What's that?
I said you're talking to guys who didn't know that the Beatles were spelled B-E-A-T-L-E-S.
Sure.
You just got to sometimes let it be.
That was a good one.
So what is so original thought versus similar thought are those different to you?
Well, I think whenever we think of something being creative, when you originally say, "Man, I didn't get that from nowhere," I think I was being creative. I think it is a misinterpretation of a memory, and it became different because you really don't remember it that well, or you failed to interpret it the way you depict it.
That doesn't answer my question.
I didn't follow that.
Similar thought versus original thought.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Well, it's happened to all of us. We're sitting down with a friend or a few friends, and you say something, and the guy barges in and says, "I was thinking the same thing as you were talking." I mean, I can't believe we both had the same thought, but you got your words out first.
How is it possible?
Similar dreams?
How is it
That
possible
happens
that
with me and
somebody
Al.
has the same exact thought on something that's
Brian.
newly created that we
Well,
never have seen before. So, like,
but
say a new Nintendo system comes out or something like that, like he was talking about, a new game comes out, and you have a thought on that new game. How is that? That can't be a previous thought. It's a new system, a new game. So,
It
well,
happens all the time in
The guy
movies.
made the
but
guy
this is
made
what
a
I'm saying. Like,
a guy made $1
yeah, or a
million.
movie. Yeah.
A guy made $1 million plus. A guy made $1 million plus because he took an original thought, which may or may not be original, but he's the one who had action on it and was selling pet rocks.
That's good too. But in music also, they accused that band Oasis of stealing a lot of riffs off people. But that's not it. Even if it's in your memory, you come up with that combination of notes. It may sound similar, like George Harrison, My Sweet Lord, sounds like do line, do line, do line. He's so fine, right? He got sued for that. I'm sure he heard that song and it was in the resources of his mind, but he pulled up a different song out of it. I
I
don't know.
wonder if how
I
you prove this in
was
court. How do you prove this in court whenever someone steals your song or you accuse someone of stealing
What's the point
your
of this
recording?
conversation?
I don't know.
They're talking
Well,
about
I don't.
original thought.
Well, I'm trying to. Yeah, y'all are way off. And I
Well,
keep trying to get in there. Okay, forget it. I'll wait.
Go ahead, Eli.
You're up, Eli.
Yeah,
Well, use your privilege.
we were talking about original thought versus, whatever, right? And I was just saying that maybe, we're, in my mind, more like a fingerprint in time, like original in that sense. But the information that's here for us to utilize, like it's been here. Like we're
Correct.
like the originator of all thoughts is the
I
creator. That's what I was saying before you guys came in.
Oh, like the
I mean,
pyramids.
are you
there's so
referencing
many.
what's it
There's
called?
too many.
The acoustics or something like that? I don't remember how to say it. The word.
It's not that deep. Look,
Okay.
it's not that deep. When we are thinking the same thing at the same time, we're just it's not it, where does information come from? Where do epiphanies come from? It didn't
Well, it's a
come
part
from
of.
you.
Yeah.
It's a part of this reality which was created before you, for
I
you.
heard I
You
heard
know what I mean?
recently that it's that there's more electrical signals in the human heart than in the human brain and that it perturbates through the ether and we pick it up in different places. That's what I heard recently.
Okay. You
It goes through the veins, not the ether.
However, whatever.
So would you say the heart
But
is a
how do you
valve or a
get the
pump?
heart of a human body going through the ether?
It
Through the
was said to
what?
be the
How do you get the
electrical
beating
signals
heart of
within the human heart. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's more electrical signals
synapses,
in the human
electrical
heart than in
signals, neurons firing, yes.
Well, you know
Yeah,
the
it's
heart
inside the body, which is manifest. Hang on, which is manifest. We have a body and it's got electrical charges, synapses, neurons firing, but the ether is not manifest.
Where does it
Thank
discharge
you.
into? Where does the electrical charge in the human heart discharge to?
your feet.
Right, and what's the feet
You're asking
connected
why
to?
your heart beats?
No, I'm
Well,
saying where does
Well, God
where does
breathed
the
life into
electrical
us.
discharge
How's
go?
that?
The heart is a valve, not a pump.
Wait a
I mean,
second. The
that's
same valve that
different.
Vanek is talking
When
about.
when
I
you
mean, to say like
see
my water,
when you see something on
pump
the
is a water
road,
pump, but there's no electrical
slow
charge to it.
down, hang on, I'm trying to
That's
answer you.
You're both starting at the same time.
Oh
You're causing
gosh.
more of this chaos than anybody, 10th. People are starting and you're starting straight over the top of them. I don't know if your internet delays
Fine,
back.
then I'll shut
You're now
up.
doing
I
it to
mean,
me. Now I'm in the middle of my sentence and you're
I'm
doing it
not
to me. Now I'm in
noticing
the middle
that.
of the same sentence that you've done it to me on.
No, forget it.
Well, you're starting talking to the middle
Forget
of people.
it.
You're starting
All right,
talking.
you're not calm. You're like
I haven't said a word for about 5 minutes.
you're breaking up.
You are the
Calm
one
down.
causing this audio
not doing
chaos. You
anything
just
on
won't shut
purpose.
up for me to tell you. Every single time audio chaos has started, it's you causing it, 10th. Someone will start talking. 2 seconds later, you'll start talking. And then you'll say, can you, whoa. Well, you're the one causing it. I don't know if you've got an internet delay, but it is actually you causing it.
Not all the time.
One more
Somebody,
thing.
I heard 10th first sometimes. It's going back and forth, Nathan.
Well, I don't understand why you take that tone of voice when I'm not even aware of what's happening.
Only because I'm trying to make you aware, but you won't let me tell you because you keep doing it to me.
No,
Now,
you're
that's not your fault,
triggered.
maybe, but that's just the way it is sometimes.
You're
People are in the
doing
middle
it
of a sentence,
why-
and then
why
the
are
person that
you-
they're being spoken to just
Oh,
decides they're going to talk. Like now. That's why I'm taking the tone. I'm in the middle of a sentence. You've just started talking through me.
His gate is very delayed.
I am trying to explain to you calmly that it is not being noticed by me on this end. All of a sudden, I'm being yelled at. So I was like, well, why is he yelling at me like this for? Why don't you just realize it could be a technical issue instead of having that tone?
He was trying
Don't you
to.
take that
Ted.
tone with him, young man.
I think it's an age thing.
No. Listen, there's a delay. We all know it. Nathan was trying
I'm
to
gonna-
explain it to you, but you just kept interjecting. He knows you didn't do it deliberately. Ted.
I think everyone should get grounded.
I'm going to drop and rejoin.
Perfect.
Good one, John.
Nathan just
Ammo
says
hat
perfect, like
engaged.
nothing happened.
I don't think I've ever heard Nathan take too many things personally, ever.
No. That's just it. You got to deal with it. Got to have thick skin here.
Thicker
Mic
than
check.
Ohio run water.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, 10th. How are you?
I'm going to say something. Tell me when you hear it.
Good.
You're not going to figure out the delay that way. I'm sure it's fine.
I think to solve this problem, when people are done speaking, they should say over.
That
We
wouldn't
can
fix the
hear
delay
it.
either.
It's a joke. I remember that QE swears he's the one that came up with that, but it's not. There was somebody on, and he decided to say that, and it became the running joke.
I
What
think
about what about a system in tiers that like you raise your hand and then you're in line queued up to talk?
no. I think see, I started a millisecond before the last two guys, not minus Neil. I spoke before John and I spoke before you, but I just chose to go quiet. That's the thing we got to listen for. It's there. It's not. I think that when people are like, sorry, not to. I mean, in general, a lot of people that do interrupt all say it's the connection, and I just think that's the biggest load of bullocks I've ever heard. Either you're
No,
roboting
but
or you're not.
yeah, but
Hey,
Eli,
listen,
sometimes it
there's
is the delay.
strong-willed men who, there's strong-willed men who want to speak, and others don't want to drop when they know they lost the race. You know, that's all. But you got to stop talking, like Neil just did. No big deal. Stop talking, and it's all good. Sorry to cut you off, Neil.
I totally interrupted Elijah on purpose. You know it.
Nah, 1 millisecond is not enough to, you know, you just gotta
privilege.
you just gotta make that decision because 1 millisecond isn't something to argue over. 3 is like, oh, that was rude as hell, you know?
Where are you getting this information?
He's got a fucking stopwatch in his hand.
Nice
You
round,
know it.
please.
You know he does.
Hold on.
Ex-
He didn't account for time
experience.
dilation.
Experience the same way people sing in groups, the same way birds sing in groups. I just heard a group of parrots doo-wopping a song. So let's not act retarded, okay?
I do enjoy doo-wop though. Like, there's a like you ever hear the like the stars out tonight in the doo-wop version? Really nice, really good. Somehow the
Eli's
birds
right
do it.
though. Eli's right though. If you can hear, and I've been doing that. I know you're not going to believe me, but I've been doing that. I go to speak and I hear somebody, I'll just stop.
It's easy now, but again, when a hot topic is up, it's like, well, three other people are also waiting and we're fighting to get in. That's when it's like,
We could use a text chat as well alongside this.
that would be interesting if you incorporated the text chat a little more, got the live stream, not just maybe the text chat here as well, got everybody more engaged. I don't know, because I don't like it
Yo,
when 24/7 does it, but at the same time, to get the live stream audience engaged is always good.
people
Well,
on
a
the
lot.
main text chat I've never seen talk before. Divergent Droid, Link B with a buzz, Fun Guy. I've never heard these people talk.
Elijah, you're in. I'm not in 24/7. I got banned from there. But what's it? Since you talked to him over there, he knows how to do something called like the microphone priority, and maybe you could ask him how to do that, and then pass it along to the next room if that really is an issue for everybody. I don't think it's that much of an issue, but there's this
Nathan
mic
does that
priority.
already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When he's like, okay, first 10, then you, John, then I heard Brian, then you, Eli. He does that already.
No, it's an attribute or that Witsit knows about where if you do begin talking, the computer picks it up and it silences the other person. Not silences them, but it really lowers their volume big time, and you get priority.
That's interesting.
It's a physical software feature.
The Discord feature.
Oh yeah, see these guys know about it. I don't know about it.
We should just have the gates wide open.
Well, sometimes like that last guy I can't remember what his name was, the who kept interrupting Nathan and they kind of yelled at each other, which I don't really enjoy the insulting yelling matches, but his mic did come through louder than Nathan's and clearer than Nathan's just in general. So whether he was interrupting Nathan or not, it sounded like he had the better, stronger microphone, and if to somebody just listening in, it would seem like Nathan was interrupting with his quieter microphone.
It would be nice if that noise, what is it, that that voice priority thing worked without push to talk. That would really be nice, because then Nathan would just have to push a button, and he will lower the volume of everybody else in Discord but his.
That sounds
But
like an original freaking thought. I was about to curse. Sounds like an
See,
original thought right there.
well,
see,
it's a Discord.
the only reason that doesn't work is because Nathan has to have mod seniority to an extent. Because on one hand, okay, perhaps Nathan might interject a little quickly, um, but then see the software would just quiet that interruption. I know others would say, well, what about the times when that's not, valid? Okay, fair point. But what about the times that it is? Nathan can't just, having a live show not be in control of that.
Elijah, Nathan has voice priority. The only thing is, for that to be enabled, you have to use push to talk. That means Nathan would always have to hold his finger on a keyboard for his gate to be opened when he talks.
That's
He'd
silly.
rather be
Just leave
caught
it
and
the way.
held.
Hold on. Just leave it the way it is. It is what it is. It's the show. Just like Eli said, when you hear somebody, just back off a second. That's all.
He'd
Including
rather
me.
be in hell with his back broke, Neil. Rather be in hell with his back broke.
Yeah, it was just something I didn't know if you guys were aware of it. Seems like
That's
you are.
that's down to you locally. So if some guest happens to be much louder than me, that's resolvable by you. So you just right click on him and turn his volume down for you locally. Now, obviously, every guest that joins, I level up, so I match them to the output of the show as best I can, and then that's it. That's all I have to do. Now, if they've come through Discord and their mic happens to be 10 times louder than everyone else, that doesn't matter to me. I just turn them down proportionately. But if you don't do anything to them, then yeah, they're going to be 10 times louder than me because they've come in with a particularly hot mic.
I turned that
Okay,
guy
so
down
on the
yesterday. The
There you go.
Italian guy I turned down.
Yeah, well, I'd do it with everybody. Everybody gets to at least to a degree. In other words, if my starting point for everyone is at least 5% lower than the maximum, it means that if they suddenly go a bit quiet because they've moved away from the mic or turned around or something, I've got a little bit of leeway. But literally everybody minimum goes down by 5%. So I've just got that little bit of leeway on Discord.
So what you're saying is if I had the YouTube on, I probably would have heard the opposite. I got you.
It just should all be at the right level. So while you're saying, oh, someone was massively louder than you in Discord, well, have you ever, maybe I'm sure you can, but are there examples on the show on YouTube where suddenly someone's much louder than someone else? I would hope not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't double check on YouTube, and it was just on Discord.
Occasionally I don't. Occasionally I get into the argument with somebody before I've leveled them up, and then I just forget. So then you listen back and go, oh God, I'm much louder than them, or they're too quiet, or they're too loud. But not often. Most of the time I remember.
So what are we doing today? Are we doing that video that Tent put up? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, we can do. But we're not doing it right now.
Yeah, now everybody wants to be quiet, right? Can't shut yous up. Yous all talk at the same time, and then yous leave 30 seconds of dead air. Come on, get with it.
Elijah picked on me, Neil, and I am butthurt, so I will be quiet.
Oh boy, that's
Eli
funny.
picked on you. Eli's normally the one being all butthurt and tender
Just
about
adjust
it.
the camo hat.
It's normally Eli that's the one that's all, oh, you guys don't want to hear me then. Fine, I won't talk then, you bunch of bastards. That's normally Eli's.
You can't say, listen, you can't say nothing, John, until Eli says, that's because you're dumb, like he did to me.
Oh,
Then you
sorry, Neil. I still feel
I knew
really
that-
bad about that.
I know you did, man. I laughed about it. Then he said something about something to do with counting, and I said, I don't know. I'm dumb. I don't know how to count.
Oh God.
Remember that? I wish I could help, but I can't count.
I will defend myself in the same way that QE didn't account for time dilation when he said Brian's quickness was a minute and 15 seconds.
That is
Pretty
actually
sure
pretty
Elijah
quick for
didn't
Brian.
account for time dilation either.
That's pretty quick for Brian. Given he normally starts his
It's
videos
quick.
out, this will just be a quick one, and it's 17 minutes long. If he says nothing, you can expect it to be about 35 minutes long.
But see, that's the thing. If Brian or someone like Sleeping Warrior, 10th Man, if they're requiring or asking for a minute, give them time to present something. It's not like it's not going to be interesting, you know?
Thank you, Eli.
But now that I'm on the defensive, because you didn't take into account time dilation, it feels like I don't say anything interesting.
Just for the record, by the way, while I said never return to Humble, that was all drama. You realise he hasn't done anything like enough to get banned, and if he was to come back today, he'd be warmly welcome back. You all realise that, right? Just want to make that clear.
Oh,
I
wait
was
a second.
totally-
Wait a second. I thought you did want him banned. I show banned him. You wanted
Oh
to remove
no,
that?
no,
Snap.
no.
Oh, Well,
No, that's to get banned. You've got to do a lot more than that. But typically, for dramatic
did he-
effect, I'll say things like that in the spur of the moment. But do I mean them? No. No, not at all. I'm sorry if I gave you that impression. I'd actually contact you.
Alright.
If I actually wanted somebody banned, normally it's the other way around. People contact me. So with Brenda, several people contacted me and went, that's just not tolerable. You know, get rid of her. And I assessed it and went, yeah, you're right. But there was a discussion, at least, amongst us. But Humble, what did he do wrong? You know, being
That's
a
what
bit...
I'm asking. I don't know what happened. Like, is this 1 minute I heard Humble, and the next minute, never darken my door again?
Right.
I was like, what?
He was just being
happened?
disingenuous. He was being disingenuous, basically. You know, it'd get to a point where he'd have a really concise conclusion given to the specific question he asked to be answered. And then he'd go, oh, right, I think it's just time I should leave. Like, what? Because you've just had the most concise rendition of the answer that you wanted. So rather than acknowledge it in any way, shape, or form, tell us it's time to leave. Just disingenuous.
No,
All right,
Eli,
well,
what
next
he
time-
did was, Eli, hold on 1 second. Let me get this off. What he did was, he said, I think somebody's at the door. I got to go. And he never went. And then we said, no, stay
Yes.
right here. And then he stood right there. So then nobody was at the door.
No,
he
no,
was lying.
Actually, what he did,
He
I
knocked
listened
on
back
his
to that bit.
table.
Actually, hold on. Just let Righteous wants to make a point of admin. Go ahead, Righteous.
Right. So next time, just tell somebody, you know, you want them banned, and then the message will get to me or something like that, and then I'll know for sure.
Yeah.
We're not banning him, are we?
No.
No.
Obviously not. But when I said ban
So-
him
so-
immediately, Righteous, like a complete idiot, thought I actually meant it.
So
The
he's
words in
just
their
like
bloody
the
meanings,
time
eh?
that
Words
Kosho.
in their meanings.
So he's the kind of guy like Kosho who was like, "Oh, I'm gonna call him." Remember that? I'm gonna call my professor right now.
Yes. And we waited forever.
What Humble
That
actually
was
did
Lil
was
Marvin
he
Science.
feigned pretending to talk to somebody. Like in the background, he moved his head away from the mic and went, yes, okay. All right, guys, I'm back. Just pretended to talk to somebody. It was absolutely pathetic. Again, another
I didn't
really
hear all
crucial
that.
moment.
I didn't hear all that. I thought he just made believe somebody was at the door. So I was like waiting for him to answer the door.
Yeah.
We got to do a
What
Matthew
expected of
Learns
that?
video.
I'm glad I've got the equipment. I did double check. Do you remember when I was like, I could hear you smirking? I thought, I wonder if I could actually hear that on my iPad. So I went back, queued it up, and I couldn't hear it. It was just not as pronounced as I could hear it in ear. Admittedly, I'm in the kitchen and kids are running around screaming, the wife's cooking and all the rest of it, but it was just subtle. I was like, yeah, I just wanted to confirm that it was purely down to my really good equipment that I could hear him doing that. And it was, you know, put it back on the big hi-fi, you can hear him. You can hear it in his voice. He's pleased with himself. But that subtlety would have been lost on 99% of the audience.
What do you call that when you like when I say, listen, I'm not that smart, I'm kind of stupid, but this is what, like that's what he does with, I know I'm just an old man, I'm trying to learn, and you guys are making fun of
Self-deprecating.
me. Right. I don't like that.
Call
It's a
dishonesty.
tactic, isn't it? It was a tactic. The second he was down a road where he was going to get the answer that he knows he doesn't want or anything like that, do that, or he'd just do what he did to me on numerous occasions, which was just to completely ignore the fact that I'd been speaking to him. I'd finish. And anyway, QE, you said here like 3 years ago.
Is that quite how I did it? So you made a really concise answer to his question, specific, detailed, concise. What does he do? Well, I'm talking to QE. That was his answer. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Arvin, the Adam Meakin, 10th Man Rising, Neil Constantino, Refracted Curvature, Brian's Logic, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Yeah, I like it.
Good
Hello,
afternoon.
hello.
Whole panel. Nice.
Hi.
Good
And
afternoon,
it's
good morning,
Good morning, good
afternoon.
wherever you may be.
Are we going to have another 6-hour show today, Nathan?
Well, no, the PC hasn't crashed today, so I don't need to extensively test it live, so I doubt it. It seems all good now. I was up till 2 in the morning testing it, but I'm pretty sure I've got there. You get to the limits, you test, you think you've got it right. You go, well, what if I nudge it up 1 notch? Then it crashes, then you test again, and so it goes on. But I am right at the end of that process now, which I'm very pleased of. Anyway, enough about boring computers. I hate them. I could kick them in the air. I don't know if you know this. My folks used to run a computer business, and they offered it to me when I was just, I'd left home and I was, primed to take over a business. But all 3 of us, my sister and my brother, all turned it down. None of us wanted to deal with computers, having grown up with them. And I still feel the same way now. I don't want to know about RAM. I don't want to know about how overclocking works so I can underclock my CPU to stop it overheating and things like that. But I do. As long as the computer runs, which it does now, I'm not going to hopefully ever have to talk about it again. I've talked about it a lot simply because it's something I'm doing all the time and have been for about the last 5 months. But that's such is life with a new computer, for some, me. Anyway.
So wait a second. Hold on. So we thought we were being crafty and we were keeping you there, but you were there deliberately to test the computer.
Yeah, what I typically do, or have been doing in the last 5 months, not the last 5 months, but the last several months, let's just say in this regard, is doing either a members-only live stream or just putting something on that's an intense piece of software, that's a game, and then just letting the computer run whilst recording and live streaming to an unlisted video. So it is actually going out live, but nobody's got the link, therefore no one's watching. So it's running as per a normal show. And what I'll typically do to stress test the computer is do that for 3 to 4 hours, knowing that the shows can be 3 to 4 hours long. So that's what I typically do, and it's incredibly boring. But once I've got it in a quick sort of series of events, when it crashed yesterday, I quickly went to the BIOS, made the settings because I've got notes. If it crashes, change these settings. So I quickly grabbed my iPad, went to my notes section. What do I need to change? So I went into the BIOS, changed it, fired at the show, got it running, and then from that point, effectively, I'm testing also, aren't I? Right? So I just let it run like I would if there was no one watching, but there was people watching, which is great. Everyone gets to experience it, and the crew's here. So why not have a discussion for 3 hours or 4 hours or 4.5 hours as the show ended up being? Because that's a perfect opportunity to not have to sit for that 4.5 hours after the show's ended. So yeah, I'm going to take that opportunity when it arises, and if that benefits the audience and they all get an extra long live show, you can check it out. Yesterday's live show is 2.5 hours. The Uncut and After show is about 4.5 hours. And it does happen. That's why people pester for 4 more hours, because there is often a reason to have such a long show. God, this is a boring intro for anybody who's not used to this particular show. Anyway, let's ask some housekeeping questions. Any evidence of Earth curve?
What's that? The horizon?
No, the horizon was debunked as being the physical geometric limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet based on a sphere Earth radius of 3959 back in 2020.
Well,
Yeah, but
according to... Sorry, Mia, go on.
No, I was just going to say, but they're still talking about boats going over the horizon and things disappearing at a certain distance. So I don't think they're catching up.
Couple
Well,
of quick
according to one, yeah.
It's me. I was going to do a couple of quick shout outs. So, shout out to Godzilla37. He says, better be a long show, not like yesterday's 20-minute stream. Yeah, the first one that crashed was 20 minutes, then you got a further subsequent 2.5 hours. But yes, I appreciate the support, really do appreciate the support at the moment. I have to stop. When you're in a bit of poverty, you can't but help yourself, like instinctively e-begging, but it's in bad taste if I do it too much. If I moan about having a lack of heating. Sorry, has anyone got those violins? Where's that button? Oh, I'll do it later. I'll put it in the edit. I've got no heating and no water, and life's really hard, and I'm really poor. So if you want to smash the PayPal link, you feel free to do so. That works so much better with the violins. Anyway, shout out to Retro Bill. Really appreciate the support also. Nathan, your skin, here's a few quid. I'm sat here knackered, waiting for your ace blokes to tear a strip off some dodgy numpty tossers. It's beautiful, man. That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for the super chat, lads. Really appreciate it. Go ahead, Brian. It was me. I'll cut you off, so go ahead.
Geez, I wasn't going to say anything that really mattered. But whereas Wally and Wolfie and all them, they were trying to claim the horizon was geometric again lately. Literally. It's unbelievable.
It's because I don't pay close enough attention. You'd think after me going to Ruhif, right? How's that geometric horizon working out for you? Yeah, where's his response to that? He hasn't got one, right? What's he going to say? Yeah, I have got a geometric horizon. Oh, right, no Atmo day. Yeah, there's no response to it. It's game over the moment they said the horizon was refracted. They just didn't realise it. And then the moment they need to appeal to their geometry, that's a straight line tangent to the physical limitation Earth curve edge at the horizon, and they haven't got one, but they start using it, you go, excuse me, sorry, what happened to, always refraction, flurfer? Why are you drawing a straight line, may I ask? How's that geometric horizon working out for you, Ruhif? Good? Good? Yeah, right. Try and pay attention, whoever it was you just listed, McBuggerita. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I share the image now that they were trying to claim was clear globe proof, right? 1 second, I will share it for you. Morning, guys. Hey, Chocolate.
What's up, Chocolate? I said there's a full panel. I was
Yo.
going to say, but where's Chocolate?
This is what they were trying to claim. This is from Myrtle Beach, right? I'll actually go it so you can see it all a second. Myrtle Beach, and this little red apple looking thing, that's the afterburner from a rocket that launched somewhere halfway through January, I think, from Cape Canaveral. It's over 365 miles away, right? And they said they couldn't see this afterburner until 93 seconds in. Now, I destroyed that whole claim, but it doesn't matter, right? But I show that this is in front of the horizon. And it wouldn't matter if it's behind the horizon because the horizon's not physical. But they were trying to claim the horizon was geometric again. What are these people at? And the rocket itself was like 0.009 degrees. That was its size. Like, you'd never see the rocket. Even with a good camera, you wouldn't be able to see the rocket. Like, this is afterburner. They don't know where the rocket is. The rocket is above that somewhere. They don't know where it is. And this was their clear. Look at this blurry photo. Clear globe proof. And when I pointed out to them, I'll show you, all right? 1 second.
While you're doing that, shout out to Derek, who says, hope this helps, Nathan. Yeah, damn right it does. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
So that red dot, Brian, on the horizon is proof that that thing's in space.
It's supposedly proof that the horizon is geometric. This is what they're trying to do.
Well, they're more than welcome to that claim, aren't they?
Yeah, look. Now I show. Look that it's in front of the horizon, even within their stupid photograph, right?
Whoa! You've just hold on. You've just twiddled a few knobs and turned this into a black swan. That's pretty cool.
That's right. Yeah. That's what I did. I changed it into a black swan because I knew what they would say. Right? They'd say that's washed out and blurry, right? Which they did, right?
So
But-
we've got 356 miles, Bri.
Yeah.
So we call it a 400 or around 400 then, where the horizon is.
Well, maybe so. Yeah.
I'll do
I have a
some
more
math.
clear picture than this. I made a better job of. This is just a fast job. But yeah, very likely it could be up to 400, the 400 miles away. Now, the thing about it is what they said. Now, everything I did, no matter what I did, it showed the same thing: the horizon behind the afterburn. But what was funny is because I know that the image itself is not a great image. It's obviously is blurry and a bit washed out. I'm not going to say it's not because that'd be dishonest. But what was funny is that their response was, "That's a washed out, blurry image." I was like, I came back to him, but that's supposed to be your clear CLEAR globe proof. What? Are you crazy? Right, I didn't change the fact that the horizon behind it. But the point is that it's a black swan, but all they could do was attack it on being blurry. But that was the very image that they were supposed to, if I just reset it. This is their very image that they were trying to claim was clear globe proof. They were back to claiming the horizon. I asked them several times, are you claiming the horizon is geometric? Do you realize the horizon is physical? Or not physical, optical, I said. And they wouldn't admit to it being optical. They were trying to claim a geometric horizon again. Wolfie, where's Wally? This guy Petey. There's a load of them. They're all in on it.
I thought we've never seen the geometric horizon. Would it expect to see the geometric horizon? What happened to that?
Geometric horizon only exists in the maths.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
What happened?
Until they need
that's
to
still the case.
claim it physically blocks something like a rocket, and then it immediately becomes physically a hill blocking your view of this rocket behind the hill. I mean, it doesn't matter if we show them that the hills move behind things it's supposed to be obscuring, in a way that hills don't behave. They'll revert back to, we've got a tangent point geometric claim here. There's a hill in the way of this rocket. No, we debunked it in 2020. It's Black Swan all over again. You only need one example of a hill moving its location to demonstrate that it's not a physical hill. Hills don't move behind the things they obscure. That will never, ever, ever happen in physical terms. The moment it does happen, you can say, it's optical then. Yeah, that's correct. Therefore, not geometric, not Earth curve. Another shout out. I got loads of big super chats. Really appreciate it, guys. Shout out to Euphoria Blue. Effie woke me up to not only the shape, but my purpose, hidden history, and the matrix around me. Fe did it. And you, gentlemen, keep the flame burning. Cheers from Toronto. Wow, thank you very much indeed for the super chat and the sentiment. Also, shout out to D Rose, who's also hit me up on PayPal. Typically, I don't shout out people who hit me up on PayPal. I like to personally respond via an email or via the PayPal messaging service. But I will thank D Rose because he noted it in the chat, in the live stream chat, and he's just given me a super chat as well. Token of appreciation of your resilience, zeal, and selflessness to serve the sacrifice, enlightening of others, of true science and the world we exist in. Truth, best to your efforts and integrity. Check PayPal. I won't do it immediately, but thank you so much. I will send you an email, and anybody else who sends me a PayPal, because I so badly need it. Yeah, and I'm just going to offer my excuses immediately for all the eBay giving I've been doing. Hopefully it won't last that long. Anyway, thank you very much, gentlemen. Really appreciate the support.
Just Bri, before you move on, just because of the black swan you claimed, I'll just do the maths for us. I'm going to give him a 10-foot observer height. Can't tell, but I'm assuming it's at the beach that they're filming this. But let's give him 10.
Sorry, do you need Brian's screenshot back up?
No, just mine. There's just the formula on.
Just your maths,
the reworked formula.
Yeah, I've got three things up. That's all. Okay, go ahead.
So if we do that backwards and assume in their claim that the horizon is the leading edge, we've taken that leading edge as 400 miles. Let's square that and multiply it by 2640, then divide that by 10. Gives us an R value of 42,240,000 miles for the new R value. I think that's a record that they've delivered us.
42 million. That's halfway to the sun in the heliocentric model, then.
Yeah, 240,000 miles of R value.
Wow.
Well done, boys.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
It's too biggy.
If you can share my
Yeah.
Screen again in a second, Nathan.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you just share my screen again, if you don't mind. I should be sharing.
Yep.
What was the distance that made Neil say wow just now?
Half the
What
way
was
to
that
the sun
distance?
in the heliocentric model, something like 42 million miles.
So, that's adorable.
Drop in
Sorry,
the
Brian.
ocean. Go ahead, Brian.
No, but I just shown here. This is, no matter what I did with the levels, it kept on showing the afterburn in front of the horizon. No matter what I do, it just won't be behind the horizon. And this was supposed to be their glow proof. Bringing down the exposure, nothing changes it.
Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because you can't go below the horizon. A limitation to the resolution of your view will never, ever have something go below it. So if you can see this, matter of fact, it's above the horizon. And if you're missing parts from the bottom, you can appeal to the Rayleigh criterion in terms of how the diffraction limit would obscure that from view against the deck through limitations of angle. Now, if like this, you can physically never show it behind the horizon, that's their claim. If they're like, it's too blurry, you're the one claiming it. We've just taken your image like you used to do, but how the tables have turned. How we used to come up with these images to prove that it's not a physical limitation to your view, or for some flat earthers, we can see too far. But meanwhile, now the tables have turned and they're having to appeal to us and their audiences to say, no, we can still show the horizon's a geometric hill in the way of this dot. It's really clear evidence. Until we, adjust the contrast level and show it's not behind the horizon.
I would like to point out the 430 million mile radius or whatever that was would still be below surface level in the math.
Correct. It will always be below surface level. That's the point, isn't it? What we're literally seeing can only and is only ever above the surface level and cannot dip below it. It's not going to go into the ground. The assertion that there's a hill in the way for it to go behind has been debunked. Right, we're just going to cover the one housekeeping question today because it's been dragged out a little bit and we're up to 18 minutes into the live show. 90 people watching though, a lot better than when we were covering quantum mechanics. What are we covering today? Oh, joy! Quantum gravity! How quantum mechanics ruins Einstein. Don't all leave! Stop it! Come back! Come back!
Yeah, we're going to an appointment to have my toenails pulled out, so I'm going to have to shoot.
Oh, really?
By connecting a force we experience on Earth with the force that controls the movement of heavenly bodies.
Gravity's not a force. Now, you can think of it as a force, but it's not a force. Just to quote Professor Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote. Professor Brian Cox. What are you babbling about? Force that controls movement of heavenly bodies. What a load of nonsense. Go on.
Oh, I was just saying, it's literally not a force.
Yes, that's another Musa quote. It's literally not a force. End quote, George Musa. So this video is Arvin Ash, and we're going to share his link because obviously you're going to all, from the chat, let him know what a wonderful chap he is and how grateful you are for his YouTube material and how you've subscribed as a result of Nathan Oakley 1980 channel sending you. So let him know. I mean, if you happen to mention that we've responded to his video, that's also wonderful, given that he's got 750,000 subscribers. Wow, big channel. Cool. Excellent stuff.
That force, of course, is gravity. And he expressed this analytically in a remarkable equation that is still used today, the law of universal gravitation.
It's not a law if it's been shown to be untrue, and it was 108 years ago. What are you talking about? There is no law of gravity. Laws are descriptions of things that occur in nature always. This never occurs.
This equation explained the movement of planets, and it remains very accurate even today under most circumstances.
Really? We can violate it by just showing how gas works.
But it had a few
under
problems.
most circumstances.
Yeah, laws don't, unlike a little bit Weasley, like most of the time, this law of nature applies. No, you're misinterpreting what law means. In this regard, it means occurs always.
One of which
Darn
was the
helium
idea.
balloons are lawbreakers.
Yeah, they're the exception to the law that occurs always. Except then it doesn't, but it's still a law, even though it was debunked 108 years ago by bending Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian force space-time.
Idea of action at a
Can
distance.
Yeah, you can.
I ruin this video on you?
Yeah.
Well, as long as they're adhering to the two-way speed of light calculation, they can never claim a force.
That's it. We're done. Let's go. Get your coat.
Because the force is instantaneous, Neil. It doesn't have a rate. The force they claim, it doesn't have a rate. It's instantaneous. Whereas,
Listen,
go on,
sorry,
Chocolate.
That's true. So listen, a very famous guy once said, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. Doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level. George Musa. Wow.
I thought you were going to break into the shaman. Famous philosopher once said, naughty, naughty, very naughty.
Newton had trouble accepting. This was the idea that a massive object could exert a force instantaneously to another massive object at a distance without ever touching it. Later in 1859, Newton's laws could not explain the rate of precession of Mercury.
Explain? Laws don't explain anything. Laws are descriptions only. Explanations come via the scientific method when you're talking about natural phenomena. So if we're talking about a natural phenomena, you can establish the cause of the effect, that's a phenomena, something occurring, through the scientific method. Laws merely describe things that occur always, not this.
The way its elliptical orbit rotates around...
Elliptical orbit? Why? Because Huygens, was it Huygens or Kepler came up with the ellipse, the orbit? It might have been Kepler. So Kepler's elliptical orbits? Why? Because he just said so? I'm thinking no.
The sun and is not fixed. Newton
says Kepler
explained gravity as an innate property of objects, a constant instantaneous force that could act over long distances.
No, you can defy that with gas behaviour. See, gas isn't attracting other gas. Quite the contrary. They have elastic collisions. If they actually happen to interact with one another, they immediately bounce off without any loss of energy. So, no, you can defy this utter horse crap with gas behaviour.
250 years.
Newton also said that anybody that believed what he just said did not have a competent faculty of reasoning.
I was just pulling up the quote.
just to stick with what he just said there. Over the past few days, we've had you just highlighted again difference between explain and describe. Just these last words were Newton explained gravity as an innate property. Did he explain it or just describe it as?
Described it.
Surely an explanation. Yeah.
Did you want to give that quote in full, Chocolate, or shall I carry on for now?
Yeah, I can do it. Excuse me if there's a little bit of noise. So, Isaac Newton, guy that this Newtonian gravity is named for. Quote, it is inconceivable that inanimate root matter should, without the mediation of something else, which is not material, operate upon and affect other matter without mutual contact, as it must be if gravitation in the sense of Epicurus be essential and inherent in it. And this is one reason why I desire you would not ascribe innate gravity to me, that gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum, without the mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one to another, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it. Gravity must be caused by an agent acting constantly according to certain laws, but whether this agent be material or immaterial, I have left open to the consideration of my readers. End quote.
Thank you very much.
Years later, in 1916, Einstein changed this paradigm with the publication.
I thought it was a law. So when Einstein comes along and changes it in 1916, it's a change of paradigm. Hold on. Laws of nature don't get changed. They don't suddenly stop being descriptions of things that occur always because they occur always. But when Einstein comes along, it's a change in paradigm. That's an interesting turn of phrase, I would say.
Of the general theory of relativity. It's
not a theory. Theories come after scientific experimentation based on a hypothesis after asking why something has happened in nature. And you suppose the cause to go on to vary it to see if it causes it. Then you get a theory if your presumed cause actually caused the effect. This isn't that. This use of the word theory is a bastardization of actual science. It's stealing valor from the method.
Solve the riddle of Mercury's precession.
No. There is no riddle when it comes to Mercury's precession because the precession is an assumption of the Kepler-based orbital ellipse. So you're trying to explain it within the heliocentric model that's been laid out to you by men. That's not how the world actually works. That's not how the sky works. It's how it's been described by men and how they've pondered the complexity of the maths that might ascribe descriptions to these lights in the sky. Precession has got a lot of begging the question fallacies attached to it.
And explained that gravity was not a mysterious force acting at a distance in the background of space and time, but was a...
It wasn't a force acting in the back of space and time. So he's explaining how it doesn't work within his new pseudo-Ramonian force-space time-bending model when he says it's not a force. No, you can debunk that not with fourth-dimensional space-time as this controlled narrative from the church would like us to do. We can debunk it by showing it doesn't happen, not by substituting in a fourth-dimensional space-time as Einstein did.
The result of a bending of the background itself.
Sorry, the background being time. Like, show me time. Because this is a diagram of a cross-hatched material. That's what this is. This is not time. Time does not look like this. So do you want to show me time because this diagram isn't cutting it for me? Yeah, this isn't a demonstration of time. This shows me a representation of something three-dimensional on a two-dimensional screen. I see no fourth-dimensional space-time when you bend some crosshatches.
The curvature
of Nathan, just on what he's doing there. He's saying there's a problem with the orbit of Mercury. There's not a problem, and it's his retrograde motion. And what they can't do is align that to the heliocentric model. That's the problem they've got, that the orbit of Mercury doesn't fit. In a Newtonian way, can't explain what's going on with its orbit. So the way they resolve it is to bend space-time so that the orbit fits in if you use relativity, which is to, I think, alter the fabric so that its strange, nonsensical orbit that, according to Newtonian, can be explained by bending a space-time within the perihelion of Mercury's orbit.
So it's meant
only required to fit into. Remember, it's only needed all of this because Mercury's orbit is contrary to the heliocentric model. It shouldn't work.
So their description of how they say the lights are operating with orbital motions, ellipses, and all the things described doesn't comport with how they actually observe Mercury's behaviour, or Venus, or whatever they're observing. So what do? Well, they make an alteration to the way the model's described because it's a problem. No, likewise, when you see the moon and the sun above the horizon and there's an eclipse, the Seleninian, that's not impossible. It's very much observed. It just doesn't work with the heliocentric model. Not impossible, just destroys a way of believing you are on a sphere.
Well, like another astrophysicist says, if you encounter a problem such as this, just change the model.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very cheeky for them to call it the impossible eclipse when it's, how could it be impossible
when
if
it's
actually happening?
In your face.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Space-time. It was a new paradigm that could explain more things.
Paradigms, laws, as they were prior described as by you, don't ever explain anything. They are our descriptions of phenomena that occur always. That's what they are. So what, it's a better way of explaining things? No, descriptions aren't explanations. And Einstein's superseding a quote-unquote law. Something that's supposed to occur always that now needs better explanation. It never occurred to begin with.
Today, 100 years after Einstein's publication, we find some holes in Einstein's theory as well.
Shocking. Yeah. You're going to find holes when you've got a fourth dimensional space-time bending, because time's not something that you can bend as a fabric. Yeah, time's a conception. It's not a medium.
Well, such as its inability to explain the singularity.
But what is it always with the inability to explain things? Put them through the scientific method and you'll come up with an empirical explanation.
Inside black holes and the Big Bang.
Oh, black holes? What are they? The thing about space, right? Your colour of space is that it's black. And the thing about a black hole, your basic black hole colour, is that it's black.
One of the biggest pursuits in physics is the attempt to find a better theory.
No. Theories in physics come after experimentation. They have an empirical outcome to a test they've done, and then they offer the theory based on the empirical outcome. So no, that is definitely not what is going on when it comes to physics and physicists.
Quantum theory of gravity.
No. The quantum theory of gravity is bastardizing and stealing valor from actual science when it comes to quantum mechanics and incorporating it into a pseudo-Ramonian, non-physical fourth dimension that is used to describe, having superseded the law that didn't obviously do it properly when it describes something that never happened when mass attracts mass. So, no, this is not science, this is not theory.
In order to understand quantum gravity, though,
why do we need to understand it? If it's science and it's got a theory behind it, we've already got empirical evidence to show it. There's no questioning it, there's no believing it, there's no understanding it. It's just, that's how it is. That's if you've got science, that is, which you haven't.
You have to first understand.
There's no need to change it afterwards.
Yeah, you can't change it. Violates the law of non-contradiction to alter something that has been scientifically validated, hence the term empirical is attached to it. If you validate that A causes B, the only alternative in the hypothesis, as confusing as this terminology is, the alternative is the null. Let's just rephrase that. The other side of the hypothesis is the null. The other side to the alternative. It's getting a bit confusing. Anyway, if A does cause B, the null hypothesis, which sat alongside it before it was experimented upon, tested, was A does not cause B. Well, once you've shown that A does cause B, it can't simultaneously not cause B. So you've only got the one outcome at the end of the experiment. There's no, well, you need to understand it. No, what's to understand? A caused B. Do I need to understand that it didn't cause it as well?
Sorry.
Go on, Neil.
So once it's scientifically validated, that's it, correct?
Yes. Empirical. Whoops.
General relativity. However, the mathematics of general relativity is so difficult that even a genius like Einstein could not easily derive it. And
he came up with it.
There are still papers being written today on specific solutions to these.
You don't need solutions to equations in physics because there aren't any. Physics deals with the physical. Like, this is happening in nature. Why did it happen? I think this caused it. So I'm going to vary that which I assume caused it and see if it does cause it or not. Where's the equations? There aren't any. This isn't physics.
Equations. I'm going to try to explain those equations to you in...
Why? Do we need them? Are they going to affect my physical reality? Just show me time. Yeah, those are in the equations, right? Time's in there. Space-time is one of the dimensions. Show it me. Then I'll look at your equations. What's that? You can't show me the concept of time? No, you can't, can you? But you'll show me the maths for it? No. I need to see this fourth dimension first. If you can't show it me, I'm not going to accept any equations for it.
Intuitively and
He said he was
visually.
going to explain a descriptive language. Like what? Somebody needs to punch him in the head.
To give you an idea of what the math is trying to say, and I hope...
What the math is trying to say, the math is a language. But math isn't trying to say anything. That's a reification fallacy. You can use maths as language to describe something, but that's all it'll do. Describe.
Hope that this will help you better understand quantum gravity.
There's no such thing as quantum gravity. In case anybody doesn't realize this already, this is nonsense. There is no scientific evidence for quantum gravity. It's a bit like saying terrestrial refraction. It stops being refraction. This stops being quantum. It enters into the fourth dimensional realm of pseudo four space-time. So it's nothing to do with quantum, and it's definitely not scientifically valid.
That explanation is coming up.
So that explanation? No, it won't be explaining anything. It'll be describing something with maths. And maybe we'll find some holes for it 112 years later.
Right now.
Complex questions explained simply. Really? I've asked how time's shown to be physical. I wonder if you'll explain that.
Before I get into general relativity and quantum gravity, let me tell you...
It doesn't exist. We've already covered that.
Part of my inspiration for doing this video.
Your inspiration was because you're a heliocentrist.
I watched a fascinating 2-episode documentary.
Called it.
On Magellan TV, today's sponsor, called The Amazing World of Gravity.
The world of gravity? Gravity's not a force. It's a conception. It's a fourth dimension. Something that isn't physical but is claimed to be a fabric you can bend. But you now think it's a world of gravity. No, that's the reason you're making this video, because you're a stout heliocentrist.
It's not only in 4K, but also hosted by one of my favorite educators, Jim Al-Khalili. Magellan is a new type of science and special offer right now. Look at Newton's equation for gravitation and Einstein's equation for general relativity. We see a remarkable correlation. For one thing, Newton's gravitational constant is present in both equations. In Newton's...
Are you having me on? We're going to compare and correlate various different descriptions in mathematics. So where's the physics?
Equation.
It's a wonderful correlation.
Between two descriptions in maths?
Yeah, correlation isn't causation, though.
No. But I can correlate two things that physically occur next to each other and show you that they actually coincided on a timeline so that you could understand it with a description. With maths, that's the timeline, yeah? But that I could show to physically have happened. Look, these two things. Look, the concert was going on and they happened to sing With or Without You as the car crashed into the stage. Just a coincidence, but the two things physically coincided at the same time they happened, right? Everyone witnessed them physically happen at the same time, yeah? There's nothing physical about anything being shown on screen, but he's telling you about how closely they correlate. What, the descriptions of non-physical things happening? Mass attracting mass versus pseudo-4 space. So what?
On the left side,
I think that's a very big point.
Go on.
I was just going to say, I think that's a very big point. I'm sorry for the noise in the back. They're working. That's a big point to concentrate on, because that's how they get a lot of the mainstream public that doesn't, they just correlate different things and say, well, yeah, because we see this happens.
By a mass on the right side. In Einstein's equation, we have the analog of force, the curvature of space-time, on the left side. It has two...
Could you show us time? You haven't shown us time yet, but you're saying in an equation we've got time and it's bending. Now, I didn't even get to ask you if you could show me it bending. We didn't get to see it. So how are we going to see it bending for it to be in this maths?
Components that describe the curvature and how distances in the curvature are determined.
Distances in curvature in time. You think that the time is somehow a path that you can travel? No, it isn't. Yeah, our descriptions of time aren't matter or material and cannot be bent for you to put them into this maths equation.
This is the analog of force described by...
Why do you keep saying this is analog of? Now, what are you alluding to when you say it's the analog?
Newton. I want to be careful here because in general relativity, gravity is not a force within the background of space-time, like it is in Newton's equation, but it is...
No. You think that Newton had gravity as a force in the background of space-time before it was invented? Are you having me on? Newton hadn't got the slightest idea about space-time. It hadn't been conjured in Einstein's mind's eye yet. But yet you think his force exists within it? Au contraire, you complete clown. What did he do? Divine the thoughts of a man from the future? What an idiot!
Is a curvature of the space-time background itself. In other words,
Sorry, the background itself, show it me. Let's have a look at this bending time background. Can we see it? Oh, we can maths it? No, we're talking about physics. The physical, not the conceptual.
words, gravity does not cause the curvature of space-time.
What space-time? For gravity to be causing it. Show me it as a phenomena so that we can claim this causal relationship. That's science. That's specifically what the scientific method deals with. Cause and effect. But you're going to say that gravity causes the curvature of space-time. Show me space-time. Show me it bending so I can class it as a phenomena. So then I can put gravity, when you show me that, through the method to see if it causes it. So I can empirically validate it. Go on, whoever that was.
That was me. Point of order, Your Honor. What's your time hack right now for this video?
3 minutes, 59 seconds.
Hit J twice.
In the curvature are determined. This is the analog of force described by Newton. I want to be.
He has supposedly Newton's universal law of gravitation up top there. F equals gm1 over m2 over d2. That's not Newton's universal law of gravitation.
Is that
you
from
know why?
CV Boys?
That G's not in the Principia. So I don't know what he's talking about. And when he compared it to his G over there in Einstein's equation, that's horseshit. Got it? That's it.
There's no G in the Principia, correct?
No, there's no G. No, that's not Newton's G up there. You're not going to find that in the Principia, I'll tell you that much.
Right.
Be careful here because in general relativity, gravity is not a force within the background of space-time like it is in Newton's equation, but it is a curvature.
He just said it. Yeah, it's because we rewound. Said that it's a force in the background of space-time like in Newton's equation. All right. It wasn't in Newton's equation. There was no space-time in Newton's equation. Bloody idiot.
Of the space-time background itself. In other words,
what space-time background? Show it us.
Gravity does not cause the curvature of space-time.
Sounds like a cause and effect relationship that could go through the scientific method to me if we had a phenomena and if gravity was actually manipulatable by me, the researcher. No, definitely isn't.
It is the curvature of space-time.
Oh, is it? So when I asked you to show it me, you, supposing that gravity does not cause curvature of space-time, was space-time. Profound. I'd just rather you showed it me. Then I could put it through the method myself.
The right side of the general relativity equation tells us.
All right, we're not going to get to see space-time, ladies and gentlemen. We're just throwing some maths up again.
About the mass energy content. This is represented by something called the mass energy momentum tensor. It's a source of the curvature.
Oh, really? The tensor is the source of the curvature of space-time. Show us. When did this get put through the method? Where's the hypothesis? Go on, John.
Wait, what did he say was the source? I'm sorry. What did he say was the source of the curvature, which is what he just described as the curvature of space-time is gravity, right? So what was the source of that?
The mass energy content. This is represented by something called the mass energy momentum tensor.
It's the mass energy momentum tensor. It's the source of the curvature.
It's a source of the curvature.
What's mass? I don't get it.
He hasn't defined it.
Does he know what he's saying?
He hasn't defined it.
How does maths cause something?
We don't know what it is. He hasn't defined it.
In the context of these equations, think of a tensor as a multidimensional array of mathematical components.
So a multiple dimensional array of conceptual descriptive components. Nothing physical in it then. So we can think of it as being maths as opposed to physics. Okay, we'll do that.
So to break down the fancy name that he just gave this thing, maths actually causes the curvature of space-time, which is gravity. Okay.
This
That's
is
right.
really not his level.
Shout out to James Richard, who says, so crazy how these heliocentrists smile into the camera as they lie to deceive the viewer, and in the manner as if they are talking to children. Yeah, he's proper smug, like most of them, but I don't think that's him lying, James. I do appreciate your support, by the way. Thank you very much for the super chat. No, you've got to be careful. You can't divine his intent. You don't know if he's lying. You know, is he acting intentionally and maliciously when he, as you propose, deceives his audience? I don't know that's the case. There's only one category of people that I can ascribe that to, and that's astronauts. They know they're not in a sky vacuum. The sky vacuum isn't real. I can automatically say that when they say they're in it, they're lying. But that's probably the only exception. Can anybody else in the arena that we're in, Flat Earth debate, name another demonstrable, obvious, can't be disagreed with, provable liar in this regard? Can we name one other?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Wolfie 6020.
Danny Faulkner. Danny Faulkner.
No, I wouldn't say Danny Faulkner, and I wouldn't say Neil deGrasse Tyson either. I had another one from Brian. What was that one, Brian?
I said Wolfie 6020 and Jesse Kozlowski.
You think those delusional Muppets are liars? I don't know. What's your evidence for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've proven that Jesse Kozlowski is a liar. I have proven that without a doubt that he fabricated evidence. And Wolfie is also a liar, as he said he does things that he doesn't do.
Being a liar and still believing it's a ball would be some of those, yeah. But I think the point, Nathan, that they can still be genuine in their statement that they think it's a ball still. What Nathan's saying is, and fundamentally, because none of them have actually done anything that fundamentally it is a straight lie about the nature of the Earth. Whereas an astronaut, he's gone there, supposedly, which we know he hasn't, and he's saying he has. So he has to be lying because he's saying he's done something he hasn't done. Whereas all the others just believe it's a ball still, and then lie about it to support their belief.
Yeah, D-Rose.
Okay, I got you. So you're saying if you're indoctrinated and you haven't disproved it by doing your own research or experiencing that thing, then you kind of get a waiver from being a outright liar because you're just following orders. Whereas an astronaut knows that they were underwater or whatever, and then they lie and say they went there. I just thought I gave the credit of the doubt that Mitchie Cuckoo and Faulkner, they know from going to school, unless they were indoctrinated, the same thing that they're indoctrinating the public audience through their platform, that they should know the law of thermodynamics, like Danny does, like D Rose does, the dumb. I'm considering myself the dumb regular guy. I don't know this stuff, but I'm learning this stuff. And then when I look it up, I realize, oh, that was right. So why can't Danny Faulkner do that? That's why I think he's a liar as well, because he comes across like he's this and that and the other astrophysicist, whatever. Him and Neil, they know.
Not doing your due diligence isn't the same as being a liar. James Richards also says, thank you again for the super chat. He knows it doesn't adhere to the scientific method, yet claims it's science, thus lying. I don't know that's the case. I mean, you might know better than I, James, but I don't know that he does know what the scientific method is for me to claim that. But I appreciate you doubling down on it. Thanks for the super chat.
Well, let me back up the two people I've named out. I'll start with Jesse Kozlowski. I have a video on my channel I put out there about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And it involves Jesse Kozlowski and two other characters. One of them is another claim surveyor, where I prove without a shadow of a doubt exactly what they did with their maths and how they fabricated diverging zeniths. So it's fabricating evidence. Anyone who fabricates evidence is someone who knows they don't have any. And that's what he did. He's acclaimed retired geodetic surveyor. Now, with Wolfie, I have a load of stuff from Wolfie, but Wolfie, and I have a load of stuff from Kozlowski besides that, loads of stuff from the past. But with Wolfie, I have a comment only from very recently. I posted it into Skype, where Wolfie said that he doesn't need to fly an angle below horizontal to fly around a globe. Now, that's not someone who's delusional. That is someone who's straight out talking rubbish and knows it.
On the surveyor thing, though, are you saying they were intelligent enough to come up with the idea on how to do the mathematics for surveying? Because I'm under the impression that they were taught that.
No, if you look at the video online I have on my channel, you will see I'll go through exactly what they do, and I pull apart what they do to fabricate diverging zeniths. It's complete fraud, and there's two surveyors involved and another well-known member of the anti-flat earth crew. But the two surveyors are the two main characters. The other guy just joined in on it afterwards. But the two surveyors, they absolutely fabricated evidence.
But geodetic surveying teaches them that there's diverging zeniths. That's so
yeah, no,
is
not
it,
no,
is it them taught?
no, it's not. If you look at the process, that they used, you couldn't. This wasn't something you learn in geodetic. You don't learn this in surveying. This is just pure fabrication. There's no way around it. I don't want to go into all the details of it now because it'll be taking up time on the show. But they fabricated. Fabrication's fabrication.
Alrighty.
This can be an array of vectors, scalars, or other tensors, and it's represented by an n by n matrix. A vector is a type of tensor represented by an n by 1 matrix. In general relativity, the dimensions are 4, so the vectors are 4 by 1, and the tensors are 4 by 4 matrices. So this equation describes what John Wheeler said so succinctly about general.
Okay, I don't know about anybody else, but that's going to need breaking down for me. Adam, are you there?
Yeah. How do I put that? So if you look at what he's saying there, no, you got it on screen just to help me describe it a little bit. You know what a vector is? When we say you can draw a straight line and an arrow, it's going to have an angle that it's leaving the source from and a magnitude of direction it's going in. Those vectors can be in 2, 3 dimensions normally. So if I could describe a way of traveling like as a vector in that 3-dimensional XYZ movement, what he appears to be saying there is, look, but because if we're doing this in Einsteinian 4 space, we're going to have 4 vectors, X, Y, Z, and T. And that's kind of what he's describing how they're calculating it, I think. It's a little bit past my level, this. It's ages since I've done vector stuff like that, you know, in 3D particularly, but that's all it is as far as I can see.
Okay, I mean, I'm none the wiser, Adam, so I don't know. It baffled me with bullshit, I won't lie.
But this just seems to be the principle of what they're doing. So whereas it with if you were describing this mathematically Newtonian wise, you would just have X, Y, Z. But what he's saying here, look, we're working with Einsteinian, which has a 4th dimension, so it's X, Y, Z, and T as our vector components.
And the tensors are 4 by 4 matrices. So this equation describes what John Wheeler said so succinctly about general relativity. Space-time tells matter how to move, matter tells space-time how to curve.
Yeah, that's just a massive reification fallacy on steroids, isn't it?
That's also Neil deGrasse Tyson line too. Say the same thing.
Got that pretty little R value hidden in the K curvature too, just for anybody who's wondering about Einsteinian. It does use a R value.
So wait, they have voices that they could tell? They could tell things what to do? Wow, amazing.
Right side is the matter and energy, which tells space-time on the left side how to curve. In return, the left side, the curvature resulting in gravity, tells matter on the right side how to move. Essentially, what this equation shows is that matter and energy results in a curvature of space-time.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't do any of that. It doesn't show us anything in physicality, and we've debunked the R value it uses.
Which we perceive as gravity.
We don't perceive gravity. You haven't shown us time. You haven't shown us it bend. You've shown us maths, and you've shown us correlation between maths. One being out of date and non-existent mass attracting mass, the other being a 4th-dimensional space-time that bends. Yeah, this doesn't exist in physical reality. It doesn't exist beyond the maths.
Although this looks like one somewhat simple equation, it is actually 10 equations.
Oh, right.
And is very complicated mathematically. If we wrote down all the 10 equations fully, it would take up more than a page of text.
So it's very complicated, ladies and gentlemen. Just try and bear in mind that it's extremely complicated.
Even with Adam?
It's way beyond my level of bullshittery, mate. This is.
But do you want to just qualify why you're saying it's beyond your level of bullshittery? Because obviously, contextualize that for the audience, why it would matter whether it's beyond your level of bullshittery or not.
It's totally theoretical mathematics that they're going into now. They're having to balance these equations, which is where they feel joy if they manage to get them to match. But it's just like doctorate level theoretical physics, isn't it? Which is literally in the world of mathematics, of just dribbling down equations, showing one thing equally. And that to me, beyond me, because it's not dealing in reality. It is just total conceptualized theory on a board. It's the only place it exists.
Simplified version is shown here. It is so complicated, in fact, that Einstein was skeptical about being able to solve them. There are papers written to this day on various solutions to these equations.
Solutions to equations, they're supposed to be descriptions using maths of reality. But yet we've got to solve problems within them. So it's just a little problem book. It's nothing to do with reality.
Let's take a closer look at what these equations are trying to say.
Couldn't you just not look closely at space-time? Because you're telling us to look closely at the equations and throwing up the image you had earlier, where I said this isn't showing me time, a concept, bending. It's just a graphic of some cross-hatching. But you're saying we're now going to look at the equations while you throw up this slide. No, you need to show me time. Then you need to show it bending.
Say, the equations describe the curvature of space-time by treating it as being flat at infinitesimally small distances. So you can consider that general relativity behaves like special relativity at these small distances with no bending or curvature. But overall curvature is taken into account. R mu nu is the Ricci curvature tensor. It tells us how space-time is deviating from flat. It tells...
What a load of nonsense. Space-time is not a fabric to deviate from flat. Time is a concept. Space-time is a conceptual medium, and how it bends within your tensor description is irrelevant to how physics actually takes place before our very eyes. You haven't shown us time.
It tells you how space-time curves.
Don't tell us, show us.
At a given point. The second term on the left side is composed of R, the scalar curvature. It tells you how much the space is changed at any given point.
Really? Well, just show us it. Show us time. Show us space-time. Then we can qualify how much it bends, or the cause and effect relationship you've claimed with gravity. We'll put it through the method. But first we need to see it. Oh, right, we can't, can we? It only exists in the maths.
Such that you know how to correctly measure distances. Little g, mu nu, is the metric tensor. It tells you the geometry and structure of spacetime. Together, this term...
But little g tells us the structure. Show us the structure of time. Show us time, a concept, with a structure. Don't show me maths tensors and say that that's telling me how it curves and its physical properties. No, definitely
that's all
not.
they've got. That's all they had. That's why we had that tensor explanation with those vectors in. That's what these grids represent, what happens to the space-time, how it repositions itself. If you put it through that little bit of mathematics, that's what's holding this together.
That's all that's holding it together, because we haven't got anything. Go on.
I just want to say, I may have said this before. I even said it in the chat. It's just amazing how all it takes is a guy that never had a haircut, needs a haircut, never shaved his mustache, trimmed his mustache, who might know some math, who can just have an epiphany and just say some things, and people go, oh, and they start documenting it and put him on a pedestal and they run with it. He could basically say that the Kool-Aid is really made with water when it's made out of jackass piss. I mean, and they would drink it and, and they would gargle with it and swallow it. It's just amazing I don't know if it's because humanity is that dumb under a spell, but how does one man, I said this about Mickey Cuckoo, whatever his name is, how does one man or a bunch of men at a table tell you something that they can't prove, and everybody runs with it and falls on the sword for it and regurgitates it? I
He
don't
did
get
win
it.
a Nobel
I'll never get
Prize.
it. I don't get it.
because it
I know.
doesn't
And then
start
Neil,
with us as men.
these things
That
Hold
add
on.
insult to injury, Neil, and got fellas. I'm sorry. These same people who want us to believe in these things that Nathan is requiring them to show us that they can never show us that we're supposed to believe exist, they don't believe in the Most High Creator or that there's a God. They believe in the Big Bang. So that's once again, that's the dented pot calling the kettle black. And I'll end on that.
Chocolate.
I was just going to say that
Chuck-
that's why this education doesn't start when we are men. It starts when we are kids, right? That's
I
the
would
whole
add
reason
on to this.
behind why
hold on.
this works. Because they start teaching us this crap at a time when we don't have a choice, really. And they've made that our reality.
Go on, whoever it
That's
was
why.
that wanted to add on to that. It'll be the last word.
Just ask the question. Thanks, Nathan. But just ask the question: what have these what accolades have these men attained? What have they accomplished prior to being propped up as an authority? How did they make their mark in the world besides being propped up? And I'm sure writing books on the very topic that is in question right now. But what have they done prior to that, if anything?
As in, like, what have the Romans ever done for us? But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, hit the PayPal link, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. And of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Never seen.
How would that float in any other aspect of life if somebody just stepped in and said, I'm an expert soccer player, and you never get to watch them play soccer, but then you're learning from them all the time?
It wouldn't. That wouldn't
wouldn't.
rock in real life.
But they are the authors of the heliocentric rhetoric that makes them the authority on it.
Right, and it's reified in movies constantly. Look at the movie Deja Vu. When he time travels back, they talk about Einstein and going through a wormhole and Einstein's equations and the bending of space-time. Reified daily in movies.
Is that a good show?
Go with that.
That's pretty good.
I said that's a great point. Like Chocolate said, they start us off, they groom us as children. That where our psyche's already caught up in that spellbound of the fantasy could always be reality, and always believing from the Santa Claus all the way to the unicorns and everything to the elves and the fairies, so that when you grow up, you always give the probability and the benefit of the doubt.
I gotta go to an estimate real quick.
Yeah, you give. Okay.
You didn't hear him talking.
Whoever that was.
No, that's right.
Yeah, as I was saying they groom you as a child where you're already into the not being able to differentiate or draw the line between fantasy and reality. So when they embed certain things, they start filtering out things. No, there's no tooth fairy. No, there's no fairy. This, that. But they keep those other things in your mind. So when you grow up and then you see these guys who know more than you or got more degrees and accolades than you because they went to this particular school or got this prize, and when they tell you something, innately you're going to believe them. Just like a child believes in the adult, because they look like mommy and daddy and they're grown-ups. So grown-ups know more than me, so he must be right. That's what it is. It's from the child.
All those other things have a time and place, right? So they don't shower you with Santa Claus all over the place all the time, right? That has a time and a place. That's like for holidays, right? So is the Easter Bunny, right? But the globe is completely different because that's everywhere, right?
Right.
Damn it, hold on.
Yeah, but look at that guy Duper in chat. He says, space is cool. Why do you want to say it's fake? Really? Well, the vacuum of space is fake. As cool as you may think it is. Makes for great movies, but it's not real.
It is cool though, yeah. But yeah, sorry, but I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think D Rose
was hot
actually
mic and
interrupted the
D-Rose.
start of your
Yeah, sorry.
sentence. Actually, I think that's how it went.
No, I was hot micing and maybe by coincidence, but telling her to get an estimate for a fence, my wife. But yeah, sorry about that.
No, you good. You good. I get it. I do it sometimes. Especially when somebody say something that triggers you and make you be like, yeah. I just thought you was kind of like concurring with what I was saying. Yeah. I am. Where's Humble H today? But you know what, Chocolate, like you say. Okay, my bad.
Now go ahead, D-Rose.
Now I was saying, like Chocolate said, what was it, Neil? I don't know. Somebody, I think it was Chocolate. He said about the child. What they do is they lay out a buffet full of fantasies, and then they filter them as you get older. You get to a certain age, they tell you there's no Santa Claus, no tooth fairy, there's no boogeyman, da. But the other thing, like heliocentrism, they keep that in your head and never tell you that that's fake. So what do you expect? Think about it.
Not only that,
What
but
do
you've
you
seen this
expect?
thing since before you were able to formulate words, right? So people have
There you go.
globes in their houses. People have posters of the globe Earth in their house.
Hello.
You've seen it on
All right,
every news channel, everywhere, right? So it's
Yo-
already
yo-
indoctrinated before you could even say the alphabet.
Yo,
Well,
Chocolate,
speaking
my
of
nephew right next to me here.
Again, G?
He knew the planets. He knew planets before he knew how to talk. He would say Jupiter, and he would just say all these planets' names running around the house.
Exactly.
And he didn't even know mom, dad. He just knew Jupiter and all this crap.
Exactly.
Not to change the subject, but did anybody hear of the mythical creatures that have been sighted in the Philippines?
I'll hush about that. But now
You heard about that though?
Nah, but
Oh.
tell me. Nah, tell me. Elaborate. I know. No, I ain't.
The authorities are looking into it. These people have been seeing mythical creatures called Mangalis, and they detach themselves from their wings, and they prey on pregnant women and babies. That's what they eat. Crazy, right?
What a load of bollocks.
I think CERN has opened up a portal.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's called hallucinogenics, Neil. That's called hallucinogenics.
I don't know. They're putting it on mainstream news, right? And there's people saying that
Must be true.
they're petrified.
Oh, so well, then it's true then. Then it must be true because it's in the mainstream news.
Yeah, but what are they doing? It's my question. What's going on?
They're
Why are they
making
doing
up
this?
bullshit stories, Neil. They're making up bullshit stories because it's all the rage now. That's why.
What are they doing with these
aliens?
wings?
Oh.
What are they doing with these wings when they?
Here's a good explanation.
detach them? I'm
Isn't
trying.
the
I'm trying to
aliens
get a pair.
the Blue Beam project?
Here's a good
Don't you think
explanation.
they are
Like Arvin
starting
said,
the Blue Beam project with the aliens narrative thingy?
blue screen, Project Blue Screen. But I'm saying here's the thing with the hallucinogens.
Blue beam.
You could put hallucinogens in a water. You could put hallucinogens in a water supply. You could put hallucinogens in anything in certain increments that it's not going to be 200. You know, the FDA, they'll pass anything. I mean, we find things now ingredients that's like, what? This kills rats. This does this. This does that. But you could put stuff like that. I'm just using orange example, hallucinogen. Then you can have some guys, just like the way guys were dressed up like ISIS, playing like they was ISIS when they was actually, you know, nothing but a setup for those alphabet companies that's doing their thing, dress up like some people with wings and go around chasing people, scaring people, and then put out a propagated news media report about the death with some crisis actors of a dead mom and a baby eaten to death by these things that these people said over here that had wings and took their wings off. You put that all together in some jumbo soup, and you got a great propaganda and a fearmonger.
Remember that
setup.
nowadays climate change can give you a heart attack, among all other things. Climate change, gardening, playing video games that are too exciting when you're a 9-year-old kid.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wait, did you say climate change can give you a heart attack?
Yeah,
They
among
say
other
everything,
things.
everything stupid you could ever imagine. They just say it now.
It happens all the
It's
time.
like they got a license, right, Arvin?
I thought it gave you
Climate change is
diarrhea.
also
Yeah, they
racist.
have a license to make up whatever bullshit they want, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. That's right.
Crazy times, boy.
I just thought it gave you I thought it gave you diarrhea, climate change, because going from cold to hot like that can do, depending on what you eat, it can give you the bubble guts.
And AIDS.
No, but I wasn't joking. They are also said that gardening, as in touching your soils, the soils of your garden with your bare hands, can give you a heart attack.
Yeah,
This
well,
is the
maybe use
level.
less Roundup, and then you won't have that issue.
Oh no. Good point.
Is everybody?
Good one.
Is it just me? Does everybody else sound like a robot? Because I couldn't understand what that brother was saying about the soil. I heard the word soil and finger. Everybody
Sorry,
sound like a
I'm
robot.
trying
Arm,
to. I am connected with the
there you go.
with the headphones on the phone, and trying
Okay,
to
now I
light
can
up
hear you.
the
What'd you
sauna.
say about? Repeat
So
that about the hands and the soil.
I think you're aware that you're all aware that a couple of months ago they started to
I think
push
if
out
I can just
several
interrupt
reasons.
Nathan,
yes,
stop this. No, this is not. I don't know if you
They
know
put
where this
out.
is going, but I do. I would
I
suggest
don't.
we're heading into health advice.
Oh, are
and
we? Oh, please don't.
yeah, stay well clear of this whole topic, please.
Yeah, please don't. I didn't know that was where I was going. Thank you, Adam.
There's certain things you can't
So
talk
I
about,
have an
guys.
alternative. I have an
Right.
alternative reason.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Hallucinations can also be induced through other things than poison. Can be radiologically induced hallucinations. I mean, if they can use radio-like waves in a very specific way to make you hear sounds, right? I'm pretty damn sure they can also fine-tune that by now in order to induce hallucinations for a very short time.
Let me
So,
ask another
Mm.
question.
if you want another conspiracy
You
train of thing,
are you talking
Well,
about
here's a-
Cinco? 5G?
talking about 5G, of course.
Oh, come on.
I said 5G.
Witsit was on that. There's nothing wrong with that. Show me where. But better still, here's another
I'm just saying
conspiracy.
it's possible to do that. I'm not saying it's actually happening.
The earthquake in
When I saw a
Turkey.
commercial,
Certain people were brought out
Since I got
before
my
it
new
even
iPhone,
happened.
my new iPhone, I've had bad diarrhea since my new iPhone. I've had
interesting.
real bad
Let me
Hold on,
get
diarrhea.
this out.
I saw a commercial for 5G. Is that? Have you heard? I mean, 10G. Have you heard of this? It's 10G.
It's it sounds good, but I'm really we're just waiting for 20G.
Let me get this.
Oh,
I'm gonna get this out.
6.66G.
I'm gonna get this out. The earthquake that happened in Turkey. No, stop it. It's been said that a few people were taken out like the day before it happened, high authority people. So is mankind shaking the earth and causing these earthquakes?
No, but I'm sure man would love you to believe they could. because men like to create the idea that they are gods and that they have control of the earth. So if they can create the impression in your
That's a
mind
fact.
that they're causing the earthquakes, then you better fear them, eh, Neil?
Hold on. They're the only country.
Neil, it's
they
more
don't
than
wait.
just
Let me
one day.
finish it. Let me finish it. They're the only country, one of the only countries that did not bow down to the fiat banking system.
Thanks, Captain Obvious. It's everywhere in the news. We know.
Well, I just found out about it. Excuse me, Arvin. The
Hold on.
news. I don't know about the news. It's something I got from my brother.
Hold on a sec, because there was something about 5 gigahertz, right? And we're talking about the waveform of light, which would be your diffraction grating. Now, how do you get a correlation between the increase of the waveform and diarrhea? That was interesting.
You got to ask D-Rose that one.
Point John's making is when we have these anti-5G people, they also are guilty of a misunderstanding of what light is when they describe how it will affect you. And they often will describe how I think it's a very short, therefore not capable of travelling very far distances, that is, 5G is. A bit like your Wi-Fi signal in your house. That's what it's akin to. But they're saying, well, these waves will penetrate your body and give you cancer, or whatever they're saying. I don't really know. I don't pay attention. But what I do know is they've got a misunderstanding of what light is when they describe that.
Yes, in the middle of a sentence. Why don't you start something?
Sorry.
That's all right. So, yeah, that's it. They often don't know what light means. I think that's what John's getting at, are you not?
Well, yeah, but if you can show a correlation between diffraction and diarrhea, I'm interested.
Shouldn't 5G be more
That's a
about
messy
controlling closely positioning of people around? Isn't that the theory? The allegation?
The allegation is that 5G technology has the capability, officially, there's patents for this, to use it in a weaponized fashion, which is not the normal operation that it's being utilized with. It doesn't even have enough electricity feed to be able to do that. But yeah, 5G technology is technically possible of being weaponized.
Yeah,
That's
right.
it. That's it.
In what way?
In all kinds of ways. Mood influence, even like listening, using it as a spying device remotely.
Oh,
All kinds of-
yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Like,
and yeah, if you just
5G?
if you have 5G
The hell are we
towers
talking?
around you and they're full juicing, and that means like a lot of electricity is pumped into it, which normally doesn't happen with the operation of them. Yeah, you're gonna be like in a microwave if it's just enough, right? It's all about the amount of energy that's in there before it can do anything weaponized.
Speaking of radiation,
I
is
don't believe
anybody
any of that.
Me neither.
I'm with you,
I'm
Brian.
sorry. Speaking of radiation, speaking of radiation and nuclear physicists, anybody ever heard of Galen Windsor, who basically exposed the scam of the radioactive uranium danger and all of the atomic bombs and
Yeah, we've
nuclear
all seen him
bombs and all that
eating.
stuff?
We've all seen him eating those rocks.
Okay, so yeah, so he was licking this and drinking a cup of uranium and stuff like that. Now, either I don't know whether I'm like I said, I'm always on the fence in the middle because I never saw him do that, and somebody doing this, it could be just whatever, the same propaganda as the propaganda that's been going on for the past 60, 70 years almost, about this, uranium and nuclear threat and fear in people and everything like that. But
You
other
don't
than that,
believe in nuclear weapons?
that's why I agree with. Well, that's why I agree a lot. That's why I agree a lot with Nathan and all you guys were saying as far as the fear of these nuclear weapons and I would say the probability, or rather the definitely affirmation that it's a bunch of cock-a-poo-poo. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, they always got us on a teeter-totter, going one way or the other. Fear-monger, don't worry about it. And then that's when they slip the slide of the hand on you. So it's like, you always got to keep your head on the swivel. That's all I got to say. You got to keep your head on the
Yeah,
swivel.
it's like in many ways, the Cold War, it wasn't even cold, it was often summer.
Well, hold on.
I was doing
because
that
I'd like
guy.
to point out
Very well.
that trick
Very
that
well.
guy did with uranium is he wasn't doing that with enriched uranium. That's silly. He was taking uranium that had been ored, an ore, which is not, you're not going to put that into a nuclear vessel to power anything. You're going to have to put it through an enrichment process. So what he was claiming he was doing, he was not. It was just a lie.
John, what's your background, John?
He said he was drinking enriched uranium.
That's a
Did
good
he
question.
say that?
He was not making the distinction and saying that enriched uranium was as safe as the uranium he was eating. So he was lying.
In other
Oh,
words,
so
he
he
was pulling an
specifically
okey
said
doke.
that, did he? No, he just left it out. He didn't lie at all.
No, it's okey doke.
But correct me if I'm wrong. If he was
So
to do that
was
with
he
enriched
trying-
uranium like they use in the power plants, it would just burn him instantly, would it not?
No.
Well, he would break down.
Would,
there would be all sorts of side effects besides burning, because it affects you at
Why
the
was-
cellular level.
Why was he doing
Yeah,
this?
but
Was he
it's
trying to
radiation
improve?
burn.
In a
Would
university.
be like
Hold on, everyone stop.
Renenko poisoning, Nathan.
Sorry?
If he had enriched. It would be like, you know, the Russian dude that they poisoned with, it was a different
polonium.
isotope. Polonium, was it? Yeah. But from the polonium people, exactly. But it'd be like that if it was the enriched version. That's
I
emitting.
gotcha. No,
Well,
I've seen
what's
those
this guy
poisons. They look
trying
nasty.
by doing this?
Yeah, they look nasty.
Okay, so with that said, with that being said,
we
my
cook
point.
you. I mean, what do they use it for? To heat water. So what's going to happen when you ingest that? Yeah, it's going to heat your water. It's going to cook you. It's not good to do that, of course. The point
that's
was
not the
is
only
you
thing.
don't
John,
just
can I ask you a
die
question?
from radiation. You could just get that through your system.
It doesn't
Can I ask
heat
for
water.
practice
How
sake,
does it heat water, Arvin?
Can anyone explain what this guy was trying to prove by doing this? That uranium is not radioactive?
He was trying to
Exactly.
prove
That's
that,
what I want to
that
know. I mean,
radioactivity wasn't dangerous.
Okay.
Yeah, he put a Geiger
and
counter
that's why I
next.
brought it up.
He put a Geiger counter next to whatever it was he was licking, showed that it set off the gauge. You heard the usual, click, click. I don't know how to do it in my mouth. I can't make the sound. Click, 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 click. It gets louder and more pronounced as he puts the sensor next to it, and then he just eats it, basically.
Yeah, and you could have gotten the
Okay.
same readings he got with bananas, just so everybody knows.
Really?
Yeah.
From
Bananas.
That's only
potassium.
because bananas are slightly radioactive too.
Yeah, they are. You can get a Geiger counter and get a reading from them. That doesn't
And it's
mean
harmless.
they're dangerous.
It's just as harmless, and that was his point.
No.
No, that wasn't his point.
There's a myth about that any form of radiation is super dangerous and scary, and he basically showed no, it's not.
Background,
Okay,
no
well, then
background in
just
the
talk
topic,
through
you're
right
making
through me,
statements.
sure.
Yeah, you started talking through me when I was
Come on,
making a
man.
point.
Like he does have some sort of background. Just let him finish
That's
his
why I
sentence.
asked him, what's his background?
Yeah, taking fucking uranium ore and putting it in your body is not the same as enriching uranium to power a nuclear cell. It is not the same thing. And you're talking about magnitudes of different levels of radiation.
How do you enrich
I would say-
uranium?
What a question. How do you enrich uranium, John? I mean, obviously, these are the topics of the day.
Well, there's
Hey, and the
processing
reason
plants
I-
in
and the
Irwin,
reason-
Oak
Hello,
Ridge,
he's answering.
Tennessee.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone else go on mute apart from John, who's answering this question, which is extremely technical?
Well, there's enrichment plants all over the country, right? In Tennessee, just in northeast Tennessee, there's 2 of them I know. There's Nuclear Fuels in Irwin, Tennessee, and then the Oak Ridge Nuclear Facility, right? There's processes that go through it. Like you can't even have people in the room while they're processing it. And when you do have to go in and work on the machines, like you have to have people in suits go in and measure the areas you're going to be working in, because you can't see this thing, but it can hurt you.
Sounds scary.
And the reason why I brought this up, because Aaron talking about the 5G and the radar, so I brought that as the not the rebuttal, but the other side trying to say, nothing to worry about, yada yada. And that's why I said I always stay on the fence and I'm always in the middle. I take everything with a grain of salt. And that's the same thing. You people that see that and then they go run their mouths, just like the flat earth people that run their mouths about things that Nathan FED and you guys say don't run your mouths about because we don't know about the distance and the size of this and that and all of that. But when people see these things from David Weiss and other people who propagate these things, whether they're going up against a heliocentric opponent or whether they're just teaching, these people regurgitate that because they say, yeah, they get it on TikTok, yeah, because da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then you got these heliocentric videos that Nathan is dissecting saying, well, the flat earth told me this. I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to leave him in anonymity, but he said this, that, and the other. And then Nathan says, hey, I didn't say that. And he puts a facial thing and shows his face on there and says, hey, I'm Nathan Oakley. This is what I believe. So these different so-called narratives or conspiracy theories, whatever you want to call it, you got to kind of like stay on the straight, like you got to tread carefully because you can't take everything for one way and take everything for the other way and just speak on what you know.
They put
And
out there
that's what I
these
like about you guys.
stories,
You speak
these
on what you know.
narratives, like the 5G narrative, are purposefully put out there into our arenas, the conspiracy realm, intentionally, for people to latch onto them and propagate a different type of fear propaganda through a different channel. Now, they don't realise that they're useful idiots in that regard. And if they did a bit more research, they'd realise that old TV broadcasts and the amount of energy that gets put into them to brute force their way across the land is absolutely massive by comparison to some little piddly little 5G antenna. It's pathetic. I just don't, again, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But there we go. That's one of the things that's been put out into the alternative conspiracy realm for people to waffle about as a talking point and be fearful of. That's the only reason I see for it. The only end result purpose is the same as all of them. Fear.
And it's also helpful.
Fear in reality, there's just things that should be feared. I mean, don't run with scissors, But I didn't really get the answer. Maybe it's not available on how to enrich uranium. So far, all I heard was put on a hazmat suit. I don't think that enriches uranium.
There's a kid who did it.
No.
I remember seeing it on the news, a kid who ended up getting a whole county here in the UK shut down because he was enriching uranium in his shed because he discovered how to do it online and went, I'll have a bash at that. And so he went down to his shed and did it. And it caused absolute chaos.
Oh.
Yeah, I've never done it myself. I've only worked on the machines that do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same thing. Like, I didn't design the machines. I don't have the knowledge to build one. But I can tell you those machines exist, and I have worked on them.
Did you ever see that movie? What do you call it? The Manhattan Project, where the kid makes the nuclear bomb. It's a movie from the 80s. That's funny because it was just on the other day.
I've not. Sorry.
You would like it, Nathan.
I do see. I mean, as far as the news is concerned, I do see a lot ever since the fake satellite balloons were exposed, and now people are broadly questioning how are satellites on balloons. They have started a new campaign of why we should fear the real satellites and how if you were to just type it in on Google or something like satellite balloons, right? Chinese satellite balloons, you'll start seeing some real quick results on why satellites are going to take over the world and we should all fear them. So.
No, because they can just say China, and that's it. That's all they need to say.
So basically, what you're saying is that since this balloon nonsense with some type of equipment attached underneath it has kind of blown up the satellite, or at least it's put the satellite question in the forefront. What you're saying is now they're backing up their actually fake satellite bullshit with more propaganda. Is that what you're saying?
Course, standard practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it appears that way. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now they're starting to analyze how they could attack, how we really could be attacked by satellites, and why we should fear them. And buy as a product, then we're not as we're not questioning the balloons as much. We're like, oh, okay, those were just balloons, but the real ones we got to fear.
Gotcha.
They just go through this perpetual
Hey,
cycle.
I have a question.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
have a question. Please don't jump on me. Remember, I am new. I don't know what I'm talking about necessarily. But is there a particular reason why the conspiracy, the trees are fake? I'm sorry, the mountains are fake. They are actually petrified trees. Is attached to flat Earth channels, so like very often.
Yes, because in 2017, somebody released a video called, quote, "No Forest on a Flat Earth," end quote. That video immediately gained massive traction. That's why.
And I have very little knowledge about it. I only know that it's a meme.
If you want to hear it
Is there a
discussed,
particular?
it's the second most popular video on my channel, on Nathan Oakley 1980, which is a re-up of original Dave Weiss roundtable, where when we were labelled the Potato Crew, so that's me, Bob Nodell, Dave Weiss, Patricia Steer, Mark Sargent, and a few others. When that subject came up, Dave immediately held a roundtable with all of the common faces to discuss the whys and wherefores of what we all thought of no forests on a flat Earth concept. From memory, I was the only detractor on the panel. I was the only one going, I don't believe a word of this. This is all nonsense. And everyone else on the panel was very much in favour of it. So if you want to check that out, like I say, it's got about 40,000 views. So yeah, you can hear it being discussed at length for a couple of hours if you want to.
Could you summarize the argument for why it should make sense?
Me, I was in the no, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I do know
Definitely
that
not.
you are okay.
I can. I
Go
can
on, John.
summarize it.
If you can bear with
Correlation is
John, he'll
causation.
give it a bash. Go ahead, John.
Correlation is causation was pretty much the entire argument for it.
Really?
And Devil's Mountain looks like a tree stump.
Okay,
It
that's
does, yeah.
Because they look like a Tristan. That's it. There's nothing else to it.
Yeah, I mean that's now
that
it has expanded into other things, like when you see old buildings that are engorged in the land around them, that means the world melted or some other crap. There's all sorts of things that are similar to no forests that have come about through the spin-off from Flat Earth, as far as I can ascertain, which is Tartarian rhetoric.
No idea what that is.
I remember
Yeah,
it was a
you and me
petrified
both.
wood. Supposedly, the materials were that of petrified wood and these stones. Like they found iron and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would chime in and add that I have not seen any evidence of something on Earth that did not previously begin from life. So the one example of contrary to what I'm saying right now would be I would say to somebody, hey, have you ever found any object or any substance on Earth that was not once alive? And the response would be, yeah, a rock or a mountain.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what we're talking
Like,
about
what
is the
about
feast of
organic
nonsense.
rock? I'm sorry, it's because I made a retarded question.
Not retarded. It's been put into our realm in the same way as 5G nonsense has been put in there.
Wouldn't Sabine
Well, I
disagree
wouldn't
with
say
that?
it's
Things with
nonsense
wings.
based on just on what I try and do. I wouldn't say it's complete nonsense just based on what I put forth just a moment ago. What could you point to that was not once alive here on Earth? And if your only response is a rock or a mountain, why would that be the exception to the rule? And why wouldn't it then be logical to assume that a rock or a mountain was once?
How about a
On
cloud?
the contrary, the burden lies with you at that point. Okay, show me a rock or a mountain was once alive.
Yep.
Isn't all life carbon based? What about non-carbon
so
containing rock, like
that's part
non-organic?
of the claim, if you want that. So part of the claim is that these trees were different to standard trees in that they were silicon-based life forms. These giants. So because there are problems, obviously, I just saying.
I see.
Mountains, levels, trees.
Meanwhile, that logic doesn't stack up. Look, if everything around is once alive, and you say no, the rocks weren't alive, and you say no, they were. Okay, well then that's your burden.
Well, thank you
But
for the
because,
answer.
but because I can correlate that they look the same, then they must have been caused by the same thing. Right?
Bean, Hossel, and Pepper, she'd support that argument. There might not yet be life, but they're going to be life at least.
No,
What do you
no,
mean? My
because
cousins had rocks.
she would have to go against my homegirl, Michelle Dollar, who
Yes.
says, you know, there's no such thing as life really. We're just chemical reactions that became sentient enough that became complex enough to become sentient.
That's where I
Because that
see.
checks out.
That's where I see
My
the
cousins are rock.
well. That's where I see the correlation or the intended purpose.
Oh my god,
Obviously,
your cousin is the Rock.
okay, hold on. So the purpose is to tie in that aspect of the heliocentric backstory to us. In the same way they've got boats falling over an edge, we've got boats falling over a pizza pie. Well, in this particular rhetoric, it's a similar vein. Yeah, you can get your opponent to start arguing about an aspect of your own claim that they don't even claim, so that you can pull it apart. So if they're saying everything everything in the known existence has come from the heart of dying stars in the process of heliocentric birth and death, when stars are born through gravitational accretion, burn up, and upon death collapse into the elements that we know. You know, the heavier elements created later, like gold. Well, if you take that single element like gold and say, once the supernova explodes, ejecting out all of those rocks into the known existence, they eventually deposit themselves on places like Earth in the heliocentric paradigm. Well, based on that, with their origin story then unfolding into those elements eventually, just by pure happenstance, creating life, then their narrative has rocks giving birth to us. So then you take that narrative, put a bit of a spin on it, and make the rocks also in a flat Earth narrative that we don't necessarily buy. It's as I can't remember who said it, might have been Neil. Feast of nonsense rhetoric that you just get given when you get here. Well, if we can start proposing an even more absurd origin story with the rocks governing the world that we live in, then that can be taken apart, rather than taking apart the story of us being born in the heart of dying stars. That's the purpose I see in it.
So it's basically a mix of bait and switch and poisoning the well.
Yes, we call that whole process the Feast of Nonsense, which is when you get here, you've been lucky you've come to us. I'm not being big-headed, but there's a fairly high chance that you'll come across some other platform that's going to tell you about the sun being 3,000 miles in the sky, the sun having a physical attribution in terms of its perspective when it disappears. You'll be told about the model of the azimuthal equidistant projection and how planes work on it for a flat earther. You'll get all sorts of stuff, no forest on a flat earth being one of them, that are just laid out for you on a table when you arrive at this subject. Now, for me, it was a slightly different feast when I got here. There was clone centers and Mandela effect and a whole host of other crap that I had to wade my way through and get lots of people irritated with me. I was hated immediately when I started, came to this subject. And wow, what an amazing world we've got. We don't know anything about it, really. So that's a world of discovery ahead of me. Let's have a look. Clone centers? What? This is complete nonsense. Where's your evidence for it? Suddenly I'm hated. Same thing applies to the Mandela effect. I immediately went, no, standard media practice in terms of the memory hole description in 1984, but in terms of things actually changing because of a parallel dimension that we may have, no, that's very much in line with the heliocentric rhetoric. And there it is on the Feast of Nonsense for you as a flat earther in this form. Just a bastardized version of their crappy argument that they haven't got any justification for. Far better to get you arguing about you and your clone centers or you and your Mandela effect than actually arguing about the parallel universes that they've got coming our way. That's how they want it to roll out. So yeah, we get the Feast of Nonsense for us to chew down, feast on, and then regurgitate up for other people, for them to take apart as a straw man that we're then claiming. It saves them doing it for us. If we do it for them by just regurgitating up the crap we've ate. Oh yeah, you just take apart this vomit that I've just vomited up about how far the sun is. Now you take it apart. Meanwhile, you didn't need to. They had the claim. They're telling you it's 96 million miles away. Hold them to their claim. as opposed to vomiting up the feast and nonsense garbage that you thought you knew about flat Earth because you're oh so special. Now you found out you've been lied to. And what did you do? Go to next man, the guru, the next table over, and start gobbling down on that crap just to regurgitate it for someone to debunk. There, enough of my moans.
Yeah, just
But yeah, that's what I was.
just to back up
Clever
what you were
technique.
saying before about. Hold on a second. Just to back up what you were saying before, I have an audio clip in Master D about the rocks.
Cool.
Much of the ancient stardust is sucked into the sun, never to be seen again. But the leftovers clump together to form comets, asteroids, planets, and eventually, life.
I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
So rather than
never get tired of that.
So you've got two choices. When you get here, you get two choices. You can either turn around, that's away from the table with the feast of nonsense on it, and look back at the people like Michelle Thaler talking about you being directly related to rocks in their religion. Now that's the one way you can go. Excuse me, up until now I was under the impression that my body was created from a series of happenstance coincidences just by pure chance, but the materials came from the hearts of dying stars, therefore I'm related to the rocks, right? Or, rather than doing that, you can gobble down this crap about the rocks being the thing that originally gave us silicon life. Gobble, 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 gobble. And then when someone like Michelle Thaler comes along and goes, oh, you're a flat earther, don't you believe that the trees are actually the mountains? And you go, yeah, bleh, chew on that. And they just dust it out of the way and go, yeah, that's a load of old vomit. What a load of nonsense these flat earthers talk. And you've missed an opportunity to pull apart their lies because you just gobbled down the crap that they laid out for you as soon as you got here.
Yeah,
That was
the
a
ice
great
wall
metaphor because
and
that's what I was about to say.
Well,
That's what I was about to say. About these silicone trees. I mean, all I've seen is what you guys have seen. From pretty much, I can fall on the sword and maybe make a fool of myself, but they're pretty authentic. And from the silicone hexagonal format, the way it's made, the construct of it, as opposed to these trees with the swirly swirl, as they call the circle of life type of growth pattern, and the fact that I've been in front of trees on the west coast of the United States that are gargantuan, almost pretty much as wide as some houses, some homes, and you come to the point where you have to, whether you're ever taken to that mountain, and being that you saw the pictures of the different so-called mountains that are actually zoomed in from helicopters upon these people that explore and who propagate this, and I wouldn't say propagate in a bad term, but try to tell people that something happened, they don't know what happened. You could take the book of Enoch, you could take the book of Jasper, whatever you want to, it doesn't matter. How they got cut, what happened, the flood, all of that. The point that this thing is here, and then when you see trees like I have seen, even the redwoods, they're wider than some buses. You can come to the conclusion that, oh, them joints is big giant trees. And then, like you said, with that lady Fawn or whatever her name is, me, there's another choice that I would do. I would realize that she's about as dumb as a rock for telling me that, but I wouldn't say anything. I would get up from the table, like you said. And if she asked me about the petrified trees with the hexagonal construct and the size of them, the gargantuan, massive size of them, and says, well, how do you know the picture? I would say, well, that's apples and oranges because these are photographs. You have not shown a damn thing photographically. All you've shown is CGI, animations, and illustrations, and things from your head.
Hang on,
And I've been
P-Roll,
there.
are you
I've seen the
are you saying? Go on, Chocolate.
Yeah, no, go ahead, bro.
Are you saying that you actually agree with the giant trees claim?
Let's just say I agree more with that than I do about the guy that ate the uranium.
Get out.
Hold on a second.
See,
Let
let
me
me let me
back
let me
up.
let me let me say something. Let me say something. When you've seen a man in the 1800s or the early 1900s that stands 8 feet tall, whether it's one man that they got the capture on the picture or not, just like the black swan, you understand that it's not all swans are white. Then you have to then understand that in time immemorial and primordial times, there probably were human beings or a tribe of human beings or a nation of human beings that were average 8 feet, where some may have been 10, 12 feet. Same thing with trees. When you see trees in your backyard that are only the circumference of about four, whatever, I don't know how to, I guess I say width of maybe 4 feet in width or 3 feet in width. But then you go somewhere where you see trees, whether it's been man-made planted or they've been there for hundreds or thousands of years, and you literally can park a car and hide a car behind it. You have to kind of say it's not far-fetched of these allegations, even though you haven't been taken to that so-called mountain in person, and all you've seen is photos.
Okay, let me
That's
just try
how I
something
look
with
at
him.
it.
I think you do have
hold
to
on, hold
say
on.
it's pretty much far-fetched.
Hold on. If you've ever seen a scan, so
Versus
somebody's...
NASA versus
Hold on,
heliocentrism,
D-Rose.
there's no real pictures.
Okay, so if you've ever seen a scan of a brain, you can see these like pathways that are drawn out under the scan. If they take like a slice of a brain and show you what it looks like. Now, if you compare that to a very zoomed out image of some African territories, you'll see these what look like the exact same structures. They correlate almost perfectly. Now, I can say, by way of the fractal nature of Earth, that means that the land itself is actually processing neural information. I mean, it's not that far-fetched, is it?
Hold up, you mean if they take a brain and zoom it, and those little patterns, those little grooves in the brain have the similarity feature, the looks of land masses? Is that what you're asking me?
Yep. So the macroscopic and microscopic almost match identically. Therefore, I'm going to say it's not too far-fetched to suggest that the land's thinking about stuff.
Yeah,
It's
see
not
where a
far-fetched to think that
correlation with legitimate.
that the terrain, that the Earth plane is a neurological living thing like our brain.
Yep,
is that
that's what
you
I'm
connected?
speculating.
Well,
No, it's not
I would
that
say
far-fetched, is it? It's not that far-fetched.
No, I know. I would say no. I would say, as absurd as that sounded, we must agree that whether the Earth is a living thing, but the Earth produces living things, whether it be geologist, a botanist, it produces living things. So you might as well say that it's not far fetched that the Earth is a living thing.
I can easily make an
because
argument
it
pro.
produces.
Hold on, you're missing where I'm going, right? I can easily do it the other way. Let's make
I
it.
know you're going. And you're not,
I can make it a pro argument
Okay,
in
go ahead.
regards to farcical. I'm trying to detach from it by saying, look, this is obviously a flawed correlation. But if I say no, I can show how Gaia does produce new land. Now, you might not want to describe that as living and breathing in the sense that I'm living and breathing, but I am going to say that Gaia produces new land. It is very much a living entity. So the world is alive. Not that far-fetched, right? If I spin it slightly differently. Is it far-fetched to have made that assertion? D-Rose?
I wouldn't say it's far fetched. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I would
Boom,
say it's a
gotcha.
definitely no. That's what
Right.
I'm saying.
Now, behind a paywall, I've got a lot more information about this, D-Rose. So,
Okay, please share.
you know what you could do? Ching. You could just pay me quite a lot of money to give you this secretive knowledge that I now have. You know, just make this into a transaction quick, sharp.
Well, damn, I done gave you about $200 in super chats in the paper.
I'm so grateful. That's why I thought I was on dodgy ground with the example. But
Tell him, D-Rose, tell him.
My point is that, yes, you can draw these correlations, but I think it was Brian yesterday, one of the advice he gave to the Italian guy who's still listening along, hopefully, is that just don't make claims about stuff you don't know. And in this regard, can I say it isn't the case that the land is thinking about stuff? I can't categorically say it isn't, but I don't know. So why bother claiming it? If you find something out about how the land behaves in the case of volcanic material forming new land, you can just show it. You can talk about it in the way that you would if you were talking about anything that you've physically experienced, and you can talk about it knowledgeably if you've studied it. But it's when you take the grand leap from massive redwoods, which I've seen, they're enormous. I've seen a cross section of one. It's in the museum here in London. Absolutely massive. Yeah, I get it. But there's a big leap from that to what you're then essentially claiming, even though you're doing it with speculation.
Like with stars, they want to know how stars move. There was a guy in chat. Unless you could tell me how stars move, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how stars move.
Right.
Yeah, but he thinks he does.
And
That's the problem. He thinks he does, or he thinks someone else knows
that's why I
when
respect.
they don't.
Right, Brian. You're right.
That's why I respect and in some ways revere this panel's integrity and honesty when it comes to not being arrogant ignoramuses. You guys don't fall on the sword of anything that you cannot prove until you've done an observable, measurable, hands-on, tangible experience on it, which is basis of this flat Earth debate thing. And it's changed. My wife even said, "You're becoming more on the if it is, if it ain't." I used to be that person that'd be like, "Oh no, and then my wife would be like, "Were you there? Did you see it? Did you smell it? Did you taste it?" She said, "Well, then don't do that. Just say this is what you heard, or there's a rumor, or this is what you read. That's all.
Wise woman.
But don't take it."
Sounds like she'd be good on
That's why I take
flat
this
earth
with a grain
debate.
of salt.
There's a saying from Richard D. Hall, who's actually very much an anti-flat earther, but I do admire a lot of his investigative journalism. And he says, don't believe anything that you hear and only believe half of what you see.
Yep.
That was a
Hold
Marvin
on.
Gaye lyric too.
But I'd like
That
to
was
say
Marvin
something
Gaye's
after John,
lyric
after
on
Refracted
one of his
says something. I
songs.
want to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there is a little bit of a difference between the forests. There's no forests on flat Earth or whatever that argument is, and heliocentrism, in that there is direct evidence that the correlations made in heliocentrism are false. So it's got that, but I don't think it's got any evidence to back it.
Okay, saying it's got a higher standard of correlation because you can disprove the correlation in heliocentrism, that's no standard at all as far as I'm concerned. No offense.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it's one step better. It's something you can't prove is something that's provably false. You know, it's like
diarrhea is better than vomiting. That's still not a good argument.
No, it's not. But it's one. I guess the next step up.
Well, my attitude about the whole lot is this. This whole arena and the situation we're in has been made more difficult by people going down the rabbit hole of nonsense and making claims like there is no forest on flat Earth. For a start, that title makes no sense. There's loads of forests. Now, that's rubbish, right, for a start. Secondly, but the whole big tree thing or whatever else, why are you making this more difficult? Why do you need to ether all this? Why do you need to go down these roads that only end up character assassinating us in the end? Right? The argument is difficult enough with just geometry and physics. That alone, and trying to get through pseudoscience, that alone is very, very difficult. Why do we have people on our own side making these arguments and having conversations about them? Why are you just adding mud to the road, making the road more slippy? It's hard enough as it is.
It's not mud. See, clearly, Brian hasn't paid to get behind my paywall on my Ding Dong page about all this stuff. Now, if he had, he would be on the road to enlightenment, but he isn't. I was there too once, Brian.
Yeah. No, that's my attitude. That's my attitude. It's like, why are you making this more difficult than it? Because it's already a gargantuan task. Never mind the gargantuan trees. The gargantuan task we have is what we should focus on. You know, we can talk about trees after we've completed this task. You
I
know?
agree,
It's like
Brian.
it's like trying to run up a hill and they keep on putting weights on you. You're supposed to be getting the weights off of you and getting to the
Yeah,
top
but
of the hill.
Brian, who's putting them on? That's the whole thing. These things are coming up to distract everybody and get us off the flat earth because we're gaining ground. I agree. Throw that other stuff out the window. Let's stick to the flat earth.
Well, where did the Feast of Nonsense actually come from? Because I don't know any flat earther who made that up. I know it was handed to us, but who handed that to us? Who handed it to us?
Lobers.
Oh God, here we go. We're going to get into the hidden
I don't
hand
know.
now, aren't we?
Well,
We
look, I'm
don't
not going to
know.
go into
We
the
don't
hidden
know how
hand.
this
I
comes
don't
to
want to
be.
go in that road. But the point I make, I'm not asking the question. I'm not trying to look for a conversation about that. My point is that the Feast of Nonsense was there before we turned up. You know, so we just accepted this. Must be the way it is, and then we found out, well, we can't actually support all that. So,
Like the ice wall. It was already there, right, Brian?
it doesn't mean
I'm
the ice
sorry,
wall.
I'm
That,
gonna
see,
make.
the thing about it is, the thing about that is this: there might be an ice
I'm
wall,
gonna make.
and there might be 1 second. There might
Sorry.
be an ice wall, and there might be a dome, but I don't have to claim that there's an ice wall or a dome because I can't. I shouldn't claim it because I can't support it. Number one, and number two, I don't have to. All I have to do is claim a shoreline because we have liquid water, and that we have to be enclosed by a solid container because we have gas pressure. I don't need to claim anything else. So why claim a ice wall or a dome? Even if we could make an argument for it, why do it?
Agreed.
I have another question.
like
What is this hidden hand thing?
The idea that there are amongst us not only shills, people who are, putting their hand up and saying, "Oh, I would definitely want to purchase that," yeah, but also the guy behind the shill, that's the hidden hand, and he's the guy, or guys and gals, that decide, you know what we need to do to overcome this flat Earth problem? What we need is a really carefully orchestrated narrative about there being no trees on a flat Earth, and then postulate this notion that's old, been around for a while, that the silicon trees were removed and the remnants of them are these mountains, like Tabletop Mountain, that looks just like a tree stump. That way, the people who are talking about it won't be talking about nonsense from the sun. Now, obviously, this all came about because there was a tabled meeting with guys with horns and girls wearing long black dresses, possibly holding broomsticks, that decided how they were going to infiltrate us with this narrative. Now, we don't know who they are, but we really want to know.
It's basically probably the same people that want to claim that the whole flat Earth movement is a psyop.
Do you want to know who it actually is? There is a reality to this. It's us. Just to cut the long story short, it's us. It's all of us. So that's why we say, no, don't just go around calling people liars. When I told my nephew about the planets and how they orbited, looking up at them, standing there with her, I wasn't lying to her. I was in no way being deceitful. I thought I was being helpful. Yeah, that was me doing it though, wasn't it? Now, if I'd have made a little YouTube video about how I taught my nephew about the orbital motions of the planets in the sky and put it out there, would that mean that I'd been at the meeting with the witch and the devil horn guy? To know that that's the narrative I needed to put out as I shilled for what I'd been brainwashed with as a child? No, there was no need for that. The motion was already set in place when I was brainwashed with as a child and educated about it within the school system. Once that happens, you no longer realise that when you talk about a globe, you're begging the question if you're in an argument, or that you're suspending disbelief when you see it on a movie screen. But that's already set in stone. So from that point forward, every normal Joe Blogs public does the job for them, them being the hidden hand that I haven't in any way shown or proven. We do have an education system, though, And we do have an overarching one world religion, which is heliocentrism. And that's all you need.
Yeah.
Feast of nonsense, and the table it's on laid itself.
And many there
What
beyond.
I love is the way. What I love is what I don't know if it was Brian or John or Adam. I mean, sorry for five, but somebody said something right before Nathan spoke in Publius asked a question. But you don't have to get into what the firmament is, if there's a firmament, if there's an ice wall, what is the ice wall. All you have to do is use those two laws that water needs a containment. Water cannot sustain itself on a ball spinning, and gas requires a containment in order to have gas pressure. So what it is that's causing that's impeding the gas from escaping and maintaining in our realm so that we can breathe. What it is, who cares? But there's a containment. And what is keeping the water leveled through these great mighty oceans is a container.
Well,
and that's all you need to do.
yeah, but
Because those are the two things that are
Zero is
facts. But everything else about what it is, why it is, and all that.
yeah, but Zero is remember a shoreline, not just a shoreline that would have to physically contain water, and a container that's solid, because you have to have a solid container to contain gas. So don't just say
Right.
container, because people can start making up ideas about how the gas might be contained by some force. Never mind all that. Make sure to preface a shoreline and a solid container, because that's the claim that you can back up.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Yes.
Yeah, because you could always have a puddle, right? You wouldn't think of puddles really being contained. It's just a depression in the ground that's able to contain or hold that water, right? But what's the level? What's the
Exactly.
surface of that water doing? How would you describe the surface level of that water?
What?
Or I said it. Level.
Just going back to the
Level.
feast of nonsense for a second. So there's a certain type of person that, when laden with cognitive dissonance or on a quest for affirmation bias for their religion, will conjure solutions to problems. So in the video we covered today, the guy talked about various problems within the maths that Einstein faced, and how people further to Einstein's postulations have attempted to solve these problems. Well, the people who come across these quote-unquote problems aren't looking for something in physical reality. They're on a train looking for affirmation bias, and when they come across a quote-unquote problem, they want to solve the problem. So they come up with a new layer of nonsense. That's why earlier, when it's like, well, did they just try and put a Band-Aid over the problem of the sky balloons that aren't satellites in space? Well, of course they did, because there's plenty of people out there without being prompted that immediately go to giving an explanation to this that affirms their own belief. Now, there's an extreme example of this that's much easier to qualify it with, which is our opponents, the anti-flat earthers. They've come to a crossroads. In other words, they've had their belief challenged. And then they've set on the road of the cognitive dissonance and affirmation bias that I described as the train they were on earlier. Well, that's a much more potent concoction, because then we're more than willing to lie on most occasions. You know, most of the people we deal with on the opponent side, that's not globers and normies, that's anti-flat earthers. They'll lie. You know, when I was like, who's a liar? I said astronauts, who else? Did anybody on the list that came our way not fall into the category of anti-flat earther? I assure you, all of them were. Because when you get there, suddenly the world's an absolutely terrifying place unless you patch this hole. So patching the hole that is the nonsense becomes number one priority. Well, that's where the stories get expanded out. And in many ways, the reason I think Flat Earth made its head reared in 2017 or whatever it was, 2014, my bad. That's why it came about. Because then you trigger a load of people like the anti-flat earthers to patch up any holes. You don't have to pay them. You don't have to do anything. You just have to put out the idea that they could be a bit wrong. Just a little bit. And they'll immediately go, oh no, I better sort this out. That can't be. And then you end up with cats going, the alternative is that I have to accept the world around me is a complete load of lies and deception. What an awful place. No, I'm going to go about solving the rights that are the wrongs of the heliocentric model I believed in. I patch up any holes I see when I see them. And anybody who tries to stop me patching the hole or widen it, yeah, they'll be met with extremely sharp tongues from us. They'll be ridiculed, they'll be put down. And why would anybody not side with me while I'm patching a hole of heliocentrism? Because everyone in the boat, they don't know there's holes, but they see me patching them if they happen to look over the side, and they're going to cheer me on because I'm patching the boat, right? The guy that wants to sink the boat, yeah, open the holes, that's us, the flat earthers. Yeah, they're not going to get any support. We're not going to get any support for wanting to widen those holes and sink the ship. So what happens? The patches come. Well, the patches, we back in the day used to describe it as filling in the cracks in the broken concrete of heliocentrism. Yeah, repatching up the papier-mâché ball that you poked your hole through and see right through it to the other side. That papier-mâché globe that is not as solid as you first thought. Well, that's going to need patching. Well, where did all the papier-mâché come from? From the anti-flat earthers throughout history. They're the ones who came up with the new rhetoric to patch in the old holes that failed. So, in terms of the hidden hand, just wanted to conclude this point. There isn't one. You know, you want to see who comes up with the nonsense. The people who go down in history, in the negative, will be us. And you Newtons of the world who don't want the nonsense of gravity ascribed to them, they'll be attributed it by namesake. And the people who will be praised and held up are the ones that patch heliocentric holes. Your Einsteins. All right, we haven't got mass attracting mass. This is a very big hole. Well, we need a man with a lot of maths to do it. All hail Einstein. What's he doing? He's patching holes in models that don't work. That's all he's doing. But now he's the most famous, scientist in our modern history? What an absurd joke. There you go. That's my full summary of why there is no hidden hand. It's us. We're the hidden hand. And by us, I mean Craig and MC Toon and Simon Dan, etc.
I find it the most entertaining when a problem is created and the same people who created the problem try to, how did you put it, paper mache the problem, and it becomes a worse problem. So like my favorite problem in the heliocentric model, which is full of them, one they call impossible, which I love, but the one I like even better than that is and it's terrible because I can never remember his name, a dude from NASA who came out, I think it was about 2014 or 15, something like that, and this project of NASA was called Orion Trial by Fire, right? So this guy is coming out and he's talking about how they're trying to send a washing machine through a patch of space that's so contaminated with radiation that people could never get there or go through that, right? So what's his claim? Oh, we need to solve these problems before we send people to this region of space. Hello, excuse me, problem. I thought that between 1969 and 1972, we had 6 missions to this supposed moon where we did send people to this region of space and everything went smoothly. So now all of a sudden in 2014, we need to solve the problem of being able to send people to this region of space.
Yeah, that's because they didn't know about it then, isn't it?
yeah.
No one got
You
injured or
can't,
got sick
you
after.
can't be affected by something if you didn't know.
Well, if you didn't know bullets could.
I think retrospectively, the response to that was some of the astronauts claiming they did see sparkly patterns in their eyes when they closed their eyes.
Only after being told that they absolutely went through that region of space by someone who didn't go through that region of space himself. Someone who doesn't even work at NASA had to remind the NASA astronauts that he went through this region of space. And for those who don't know, I'm speaking about the Van Allen belts, right? Okay. So the astronauts didn't know that they had reactions to this region of space until they were told they went through this region of space. And then they all of a sudden remembered that they had circumstances that they went through because they went through this region of space. If you don't see that that's straight bullshit, like I don't know what to tell you.
And then I suddenly realized why all my hair fell out. You know.
That checks out.
Well, I put on weight.
Like suddenly
or
my
off weight.
skin looks like I'm rock now, or and my mate's got stretchy magic arms.
Well, it can't. I mean, we always, when we talk about like, when we do talk about Narnia, this is as close as we get. But
Mountainside,
I
and you're there
mean,
with
to
a rock.
me,
Those are your cousins too.
what up, homies? Sorry to step on you on the way to work. but no, the region of space thing, it always gets me because I just think like, well, wouldn't all of space be like that? Like, seeing as that, what protects us from space is supposedly the exosphere, the magnetosphere, or whatever. So it's like everything beyond that is just the wild, wild. I can't even say wild, wild west. It's just the wild, wild.
Magneto, what now?
Well,
magnetosphere. Yeah, I know.
But
I know.
what I'd like to say about the whole thing is, if you look at Einstein's general relativity, I just use it. It doesn't matter if it's someone before him, or someone that comes after him. If you take that as the globe model, the heliocentric model, and you compare it to the flat Earth, I'm going to use Nathan's analogy of a boat and mix it in with paper mache. Their boat is a paper mache boat. Our boat is a real boat because we're out trying to sail it on water, right? We're trying to deal with real. Whereas they have a paper mache boat in the field, so they can make they can have all the problems and holes they want in it because it'll never sink because it's in the field because they're not on the water. And that's the difference. They're trying to. There's always going to be, regardless of who comes along, whatever heliocentric model they come up with, the maths will always have problems. There'll always be issues. And they'll always be trying to solve these issues as if they're doing science, when all they're doing is theoretical mathematics. And that's all they're doing. There's no, as Adam said earlier, there's no relevance to reality. So that's why their boat will never sink, because the boat is not on water. So it can be made of paper mache, because it doesn't matter. It can have holes in it. It doesn't sink, because it's not on water. We're trying to deal with the boat that is on, with the reality, which is a real boat on water. And they don't want to deal with that.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, bailing me out on PayPal, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!